How we doing? Danielle Redlick. I just started the wrong stream. But we're back. We're here. Ah, what a disaster. Doesn't matter. We're here now. Right, let's have a look. View on YouTube. Bum, bum, bum. Okay, that's looking good. Analytics. Okay, got that one. Turn on that. I hope you're all doing well, guys. Monica's in the house. Hiya, Monica. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, so I sent the tweet, my message to the wrong account because you've got two accounts on Twitter. So send it to the dog one, not the other one. But it's all good. We sorted it in the end. So hope you're well. Let's have a look here now. Just working. It's all good. It's all gravy. Hello, Tim. How are we, Tim? You all right, mate? I just started the wrong stream, guys. So I need to reset the other stream now. Oh, nightmare. But it's all good, though. It's all good. I got this ready. We're starting bang on when it strikes 12, as in when it strikes 10. Or one for me when it strikes 2, for Tim when it strikes 3, for you, Monica, when it strikes 10, or 9. 9, it's confusing. Or 8 in Central. Right, hang on. Let's have a look here. Let's have a little look-see. Anyway, hope you're all well. Share screen. Tim, did you see the trial we had last night, Tim? Start a new trial. Did you see it? Because I don't think you were here for it. Or if you were very quiet, which doesn't sound like you. Someone's commented on it. There we are. We've got a brand new stream now. Brand new trial. The Carriga murders. We heard the opening for State yesterday. We're going to hear the one for Defense today. Okay, fine. So no one else is showing it. So, well, I'm aware of yet. So I got permission from the court to show it. So we're doing part 1 of this today, and then we'll do part 2 tomorrow of day 2. Not to confuse people too much. I'll put subtitles on. We're only 2 watching. There's more than 2, Tim. 4, 3, 4. It fluctuates, updated, and normally there's more. Just it doesn't record it, but it's all good. See, it's well, it was 4, now it's 3. Yeah, you can never tell with that. I've had it before where it says like 5, and I got like 8 people chatting in chat. That doesn't make sense. Do you know what I mean? So it's all good though. This is very early for most people, so it's still very early. I need. So I expected this. I told everyone don't come until 9 o'clock Eastern. It's all good. I need to. Mary, wrong stream, Mary. Hi, Mary. Wrong stream. Go to the other one. That's my fault. I started the wrong stream. So I'll redo that now. I'll reboot that once we get this. Oh, chat is low. Yeah, it's people be here. We told him to be here for about 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock your time. It's just because it's quite early for most people. I started 15 minutes early, Tim. But like Monica's working, for instance, and Mary's in the wrong stream because I'm. No, this is the wrong. So I started the wrong stream. It's my fault. People went to the wrong stream. This is the right stream. That's just my fault. Mary is in that stream. I've told her to try and come over here. So hopefully she will. Uh, and then I'll set up that stream then. So it'll be the thing is, Tim, it'll be quiet at the start because for us it's afternoon. For most people, it's like 8 o'clock in the morning. So this one will always be a little bit quiet at the start. No, we're not in a hurry. No, exactly. But no, I'll be starting it at 3 o'clock your time exactly, and people can catch up then. We're only watching this until about 4:45, 5:45 your time, and then I flip it on to the new trial then. So it's all good. It's all good. But yeah, sometimes these trials do sometimes start off quiet. But I've started streams off before with nobody here. I started work 2 hours ago. Jeez, I'm just now waking up. I can imagine. I know. It's nearly 2 o'clock here, Monica. I'm still not awake. All right. So I need to try and balance stuff. I need to get the webinar sorted as well. But I do think we got a good combination of trials here. We got this one, which I think is going to be good, and then the other one, which I think is going to be very good. Oops. Working from home is great. Yes, I can imagine. Yes, it is. It's great for me as well. I can't really complain. So no worries, Tim. See you in a bit, but I can't really complain either, Monica. Most people that work from home can't complain. Jump in and say, hey, I'm watching day one of the other trial. Happy days, Danny. So we go live on that one at our time, about 4:45 for day two. So catch up, ready for that, because it's live and it's going to be intriguing. The audio's not the best, but it's still good. So it's going to be a good trial, Dan, but hope you do well. Tim back. Hi, Mary. So you were on the wrong stream, Mary. My fault. I started that stream too early. This is the right stream. So hello, Mary. Mary from New York. Right. 5 more minutes, and we'll give it a start. Um, yeah, because I saw you comment on the video because you weren't in the thing. Hang on. You know what? You try to talk. Once we get to it, I'll post a link for you now, right? I'll post a link for you. I'm not going to confuse streams here, but I will post a link for the new trial in chat in a bit. So you'll get to see it, and then you get up to date with it. Hello, found you. Happy days. It was good to watch so far. It's going to be a cracker. So 4 murders. It's easier if I post a link, Tim. Hang on, I got a year. Hang on. Here it is, Tim. It's in Wikipedia. Here it is. So that's a link, Tim, for it. So take a gander at that. And day one is about just over 2 hours. So if you want to, we'll go and watch that if you want. Um, if you know about this trial already, right? Okay. You know what, I'm going to start it. I'm going to start the trial, and then I'll set up the day two then of the other one. Happy days, Tim. Go and watch that. Happy days, Tim. You and Danny, rewatch crew. Right, let's watch this then. We'll do 1.25 as per usual.
In a moment to organize things in the court.
Are you there now?
I can just have one more moment, please.
Okay, one more moment. One more moment. One more moment. Right, and as I'm doing that, I will set the
Okay.
happy days, Danny. I'll see you in a bit. This is my moment. This is my dream. Okay, where's that got there?
All right, let's bring in the panel, please.
Detective, please stand and raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. All right, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. Mr. Wiggins.
Good morning, Detective Ware.
Good morning.
Let's go back to where we left off, which is the conversation that the jury heard of the January 13th, 2019 phone call that you had with Ms. Redlick. Ms. Redlick was asking some questions about what information was out there in the public, what information was made available to the media. At this very early stage, what information had been released?
The only information was that there was a suspicious death, and that's it. There was no other information.
You heard Ms. Redlick inform you that she had told the dispatcher what had occurred.
Yes.
And you also heard Ms. Redlick inform you that she had told the story of what happened to some of the folks in the Baker Act facility.
Yes.
Later in your investigation, did you have an opportunity to interview an employee of that Baker Act facility?
I did.
Who was that?
Mr. Copeland?
Based off of what Ms. Redlick said to you on the phone and the information you gained from Mr. Frederick Copeland, did you continue to understand that Danielle Redlick was maintaining that she did not kill her husband?
That's correct.
Was Ms. Redlick released from the Baker Act facility?
Yes, she was.
She was not under arrest or police custody upon emerging?
No.
You mentioned Terrell Tucker.
Yes.
When was the interview with Terrell Tucker conducted?
Can I refer to my notes?
Would looking at your report help refresh your recollection?
Yes.
With permission from the court, may the witness refresh her recollection with her report?
Yes. It was done on January 14th, 2019.
Based off of the information you learned from that interview with Ms. Terrell Tucker, where she detailed her conversation with Ms. Redlick at the Baker Act facility, did you understand that she was continuing to maintain that she did not kill her husband?
That is correct.
At this stage of the investigation, did you begin to conduct interviews with a wide range of individuals to get a better understanding of Michael and Danielle's relationship?
That is correct.
What did you see the purposes of these interviews to be?
I wanted to see whether or not there was issues in the relationship before this happened and who was the main aggressor in the relationship.
Did you also inquire and attempt to gain any information about whether Michael Redlick would have harmed himself?
Yes, that is correct.
Did you consider the possibility that maybe someday later, maybe someday at trial, Ms. Redlick would claim self-defense?
Yes.
And were interviews and questions asked to try to see there would be any support for that claim.
That is correct.
I'd like you to discuss kind of the range of individuals that were interviewed and sort of where people were emerging from with information that was pertinent or useful to shed light on this relationship in these individuals.
Sure. So we interviewed family members of Danielle. We interviewed Mr. Aquino, which is her stepfather. We also interviewed family friends, Mr. Diebel and
Peter Diebel?
Peter Diebel.
Yeah.
Some of the neighbors that they had, Janice Reeves, and the Keens. They lived across the street. We also interviewed coworkers of the victim, and including Maria Molina.
Who is that?
She works at UCF as like a secretary, I think, or she did at the time.
Who else?
There was about 33, 34 people that we interviewed.
Did you interview individuals who knew both Michael and Danielle before they moved to Orlando?
Yes, we also interviewed people who were starting to call in from California, where they used to live, and other locations where they used to live that knew them for a long time before they arrived in Florida.
Having additional contact with Ms. Redlick in person.
Yes.
Can you explain how that came to be?
Sure. On January 18th, 2019, we needed to get a search warrant for her DNA. So we went to the house. We also did a second search warrant for the house. And I was in contact with Ms. Redlick at that time to conduct the search warrant for her DNA for comparison purposes against the blood that we found in the residence.
Would you explain what the basis was or what the motivation was to conduct the second search warrant?
We were looking for certain items that were dated between that time, specifically any passwords, also that we were looking for, any electronics that could have been used during the time leading up and, from the time that she was
released.
And we're looking for just more evidence that
Hi,
we
Mike.
thought we needed to get that we didn't know at the first search warrant.
Can you explain why that was? Why you now thought there was more evidence that wasn't found during the first search warrant?
Sure. Just based on the interviews that we had and the contact that we had with different people, we thought there was more going on that we needed to look further into that we weren't privy to at the first search warrant of the house.
So maybe things that didn't seem to be potentially significant at the time, you now think may have the potential for significance in the investigation.
Yes.
Did that include journals?
Yes, that did.
Was Ms. Redlick home when you traveled to execute the search warrant on January 18th, 2019?
Yes, she was.
Approximately what time did you arrive at the house? If it's in your report and it would refresh your recollection, I would ask permission from the court to allow you to do that. If it's not, and you have to just give us your best estimate, you can do that as well.
Okay, I can see if it's in my report.
Your Honor, may the witness refresh her recollection with her report.
Yes, you can. Thank you.
I don't have the exact time, but I believe it was in the morning of the 18th.
Would you please explain to the jury the process by which you were able to obtain a DNA standard from an individual?
Of course. So when we need to get a standard from a person, we have to write a search warrant that gets signed by a judge, and it explains the details of why we need the DNA standards. When we're conducting the search warrant, I have to read the entire search warrant to the person that we're giving it to, and then I ask if they have any questions pertaining to that search warrant. At that point, it's really not a time to discuss the case. I'm just there to execute the warrant and get the standards for the case. If they have any questions about the process of getting the DNA standards, then I can explain that. And it's just 2 swabs, and it's inside the cheek, and then we put it in an evidence folder.
Your Honor, I'm approaching the witness with what is marked as states C and states BC for identification purposes. Approach.
Yes.
Detective Ware, I'm showing you what's marked as state C for identification purposes. Do you recognize state C?
I do.
And how is it that you recognize it?
My initials and date are on it from when we reviewed it. I'm sorry.
We've reviewed it before you came in here today.
Yes,
And does it contain a fair and accurate depiction of a surreptitiously recorded audio of the execution of the warrant we just discussed?
it does.
And I'm showing you what's marked as states BC for identification purposes. You recognize this to be the envelope that contains the DNA standard that was obtained during the course of everything we've just been discussing, and specifically the audio that we're going to hear.
It does.
Your Honor, at this time, the state would seek to move in evidence what has been marked as states C and states BC.
Any objection?
No objection.
Okay. C is admitted as the next numbered exhibit, and BC will be admitted as the next numbered exhibit.
C, State Exhibit 41. BC, State Exhibit 42.
Can you tell the jury a little bit about Ms. Redlick's demeanor as you're first approaching her? What's her attitude as you're arriving at her house here on the 18th?
She wasn't very happy to see us arrive at the house. She was upset.
Publishing what's in evidence as states 41.
Silence now. Hello, Christine. Hope you're well. Just a reminder, the quadruple murder trial we'll be watching at 11:45, but don't move because we should direct you straight from here, straight to the trial. This is my moment. This is my dream. I don't know what's going on, but we will be free. Also, I know a lot of people are going to be
Your Honor, can I
watching
trouble you for a third player?
the Alex Murdoch trial as well. So Alex Murdoch's been sentenced today, but we know the sentence anyway, so I'm not bothered. I'm 2xing it for a little bit till we get to this spot.
Okay, publishing states 41.
Yes.
Can you get the kids away, please?
Yes, yes.
Just get the kids.
Okay,
Yes.
Danielle, I just want to talk to you, okay? Right now, you're not under arrest, but we just secured you for our safety. We do have a search warrant for your house, and a search warrant for your DNA. So if you can just sit in the car.
Don't really know what's going on.
And if you have any questions about it, you can let me. Search warrant, our police department.
Thank you, car 31, staging.
Search warrant, Warren Police Department, case number WPPD 2019-46-00005. Judicial Circuit in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, in the name of the state of Florida, to Chico Police, Warren Police Department, Warren Park, Florida, Orange County, Florida, and all sworn Warren Park Police Department officers, deputy sheriffs of the Orange County Sheriff's Office, Department of Corrections, and medical personnel of the Orange County Correctional Facility, medical staff at ABC Medical Center, and Orange County sworn probation officers. Whereas on this date, a written and sworn application and affidavit for search warrant has been presented to me as judge in and for Orange and Osceola County, Florida, 9th Judicial Circuit by the applicant, the Pamela Lawyer, a sworn law enforcement officer from the Purchase Department. And whereas said facts may known to me in said application and affidavit for search warrant sworn to before me have caused me to certify and find that there is probable cause to believe that certain evidence, to wit, 2 buccal swabs, saliva standards from Danielle Redlick's mouth, which is believed to be evidence relevant to proving that a felony crime has been committed, to wit, death investigation, Florida State Statute 72.04, to second-degree murder, are located in the person of Danielle Redlick, date of birth 11/3/1973, Florida DL 342-170-73-903-0, who is currently residing at 1231 Temple Drive, Overland Park, Florida 32781. Now, therefore, the law enforcement officers named above and such lawful assistance as may be necessary from the Orange County Corrections staff or other law enforcement officer using reasonable force if necessary are hereby committed in the daytime or in the nighttime or on Sunday in the presence of Detective Pamela Ware for the Overland Park Police Department or his or her designee to collect from the person of Danielle Redlick 2 buccal swabs, saliva standard from Danielle Redlick's mouth. Forensic testing is specifically authorized of this evidence, and such testing may occur multiple times and outside of the 10 days as needed without coming back before the court. A proper inventory and receipt shall be given for any evidence seized, and a completed duplicate copy of the search warrant shall be delivered to or left with his or her property. An original of the search warrant and return reporting the execution of the warrant and an inventory of any evidence or property seized under the search warrant shall be filed with the court within 10 days of the date of issuance. It is further directed that any evidence or property seized under this warrant shall be brought before a court in a proper jurisdiction to be disposed of.
I did not murder my husband, please, I don't understand this jargon.
Into on request, ordered and sealed this 16th day of January 2019, signed by Judge Gail A. Adams. Wait, what don't you understand?
You're saying the saliva, when there was resuscitation done, did that's second-degree murder?
No, I'm collecting saliva standards from you, as is in this warrant, to be tested.
Because of the resuscitation?
Because of other evidence that we have collected.
I don't understand.
So, it's to differentiate your, DNA against your husband's DNA. And because your standards aren't, I will need to collect a copy of your standard. This is a search warrant. I'm not asking you any questions. You can tell your attorney afterwards and I'll give you a copy of the warrant. But, right now it's a search warrant that needs to be executed. I don't know what type of information.
For other evidence, you say.
I'm not going to discuss the facts of the case. Right now, I'm just here to execute the search warrant for the Iraqi standards.
I'm sure not. If not, I don't.
You want me to start the process of collecting your DNA standards? So, I have 2 sterile swabs here. I'm gonna ask you to open your mouth and I'm gonna swab the inside of your right cheek and then put it in this box. And then I'm gonna ask for you to open your mouth again so I can swab the inside of your left cheek. Do you understand?
It's quite a clever move by you to say, I was resuscitating them.
Can you open it? That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying I'm collecting this. Yes, when we code this in-house, we need to be able to differentiate, your DNA from your husband's DNA.
I don't understand. We also have a search warrant for, to collect any other evidence, that we think is necessary. It's, I believe, Detective Giroso gave it to, Mr. Keon. I also here, left the inventory receipt for AMC. Okay, this is your copy. I told you that we have a search warrant for the house to search for any other item that we
think are necessary for the case.
I don't, yeah.
Sorry. So they break down these numbers. And then you're doing your job at the same time. I had no chance for defense or anything.
I'm not asking any questions, Mr. Redlick. I'm just here to ask you to respond.
Oh, my sister, you want my kids, I can remember.
That's fine, you have my contact information, you can set up a date, but right now, we finished with the warrant, it's 12:38, so if I'm gonna open the door and, release you. Okay, do you have any other questions? Okay.
Upon conclusion of that audio recording, did you begin the execution of the search warrant on 1231 Temple Drive on January 18th, 2019?
Yes, I did.
Joint Defense Counsel, what has been marked as states BG for identification purposes? Permission to approach the witness for states BG.
Yes.
Detective Ware, I'm showing you what's marked as states BG for identification purposes. If you could flip through this composite exhibit, and when you're done, I'll ask you some questions. Detective Ware, do you recognize the contents of state's BG composite exhibit to be a collection of writings that you encountered or was discovered during the course of that search warrant that was executed after that audio ended?
Yes, I do.
And are they fair and accurate depictions of those writings?
Yes, they are.
Your Honor, at this time, the state would seek to move in evidence what has been marked as state's BG for identification purposes.
Any objection?
No objection.
States BG will be admitted as the next numbered exhibit.
State Exhibit 43.
Permission to publish?
Yes.
So upon entering the home, was this notebook laid out in this way
Yes, it was.
to this particular page?
Yes.
And can you, for the record, read the last line on that page the notebook was turned to?
Forgive me for all my wrongs, for I am hardly sorry.
Yeah, the first live was my fault. Because I got two videos streamed, I clicked the wrong one. I started the wrong one. I started the Kariga family trial by mistake, so to cancel that, then restart it. So that's why it's my fault. My fault. Tim, don't confuse her anymore. Otherwise, you're going to start confusing in here as well. So it's my fault. Sorry, guys. You're in the right place, and then we'll kick over to the other trial as soon as it starts.
During that search warrant, did you also locate the laptop that was in the back of Michael's car?
Yes, I did.
And that was the car that had the egg residue on it.
Yes, it was.
Was that laptop forwarded to the Florida Department of Law Enforcement for forensic examination?
Yes, it was.
What is your involvement in the decisions that are made after everything's been collected, as far as what gets sent to FDLE, what gets processed?
So as lead detective, we look over all the evidence that we have, and then we determine what pieces of evidence need to go to FDLE. Right on the first round, we have so many rounds that we can submit evidence. So we decide which is most important to go to FDLE for submission for review.
Were there multiple submissions to the Florida Department of Law Enforcement DNA laboratory over the course of January?
Yes, there was.
And were you getting reports back in pretty short order within the month of January?
Yes, we were.
In addition to receiving those reports, did you have a chance to more fully and completely examine the contents of Ms. Redlick's cell phone?
Yes.
What sort of data sets did you review from Mr. Redlick's cell phone?
So there were basically,
No, don't behave, Tim. Don't behave. I was joking because you can confuse them here. You can confuse them here with anything. I confuse them here all the time. Don't worry. No, carry on as you are, Tim. It's all good, man. It's all good. Reminds me I have to shower soon. Why does that remind you of that? I was going to say, I don't understand what's going on. Don't understand what's going
it
on.
was like a timeline of things, and some of the, we saw that some of the messages had been deleted from the phone, and then also some activity that was done on the phone after the altercation occurred, and that there was a missed 911 call the night of the altercation.
Or not a missed 911 call, but a sort of a misdialed 911 call.
It was a failed 911 call. It didn't reach the tower. It was disconnected before it reached.
You mentioned activity on the phone after the altercation. Did you see activity that you believed suggested that Miss Redlick was browsing a dating site after she murdered her husband?
Yes, we saw that she had opened her dating site and she was looking at the profile and looking at messages.
Did you draft and have a search warrant signed in order to obtain the records related to this dating website that you saw evidence of within Ms. Redlick's cell phone?
Yes, we did.
Did you receive those records?
Yes, we did.
You review those records?
Yes, I did.
Your Honor, at this time, the state would seek to move into evidence what has been marked as states AH for identification purposes pursuant to the notice of intent to rely on business record certification.
Any objection?
No objection.
That's okay, honey. Yeah? But talking of late, here she is, Sarah P. Welcome and thanks for joining everyone. Please hit that like button. Please subscribe. Please hit that notification bell if you haven't already. Thanking you. Morning, Sarah P.
AH will be admitted as the next numbered exhibit.
State Exhibit 44.
What was the name of that website?
Meet Mindful.
Did you also have an opportunity to review the forensic extractions that were obtained from Mr. Redlick's laptop?
Yes, I did.
And that would have been the laptop that was in the backseat of his car.
That's correct.
Did you also have a chance to review the contents of the forensic extraction obtained from a laptop associated with Ms. Redlick that was located on that kitchen table?
Yes.
I want to back us up in the timeline a little bit. Did you actually travel to the University of Central Florida for the purposes of seeing if there was any evidence contained within Mr. Redlick's office?
Yes, I did.
And did you obtain a consent to search Mr. Redlick's office?
I did.
Can you describe sort of Mr. Redlick's office to the jury?
Sure. When you walk in, there's a door and his desk is like in front of you, and then he has bookcases, and it's just like a small office with a computer and like a regular desk with drawers and papers around it.
During this search, did you find a folder that contained documents relating to Danielle Redlick?
We did. We found a folder relating to Danielle Redlick and a divorce. It looked like a divorce folder for a lawyer, questions to ask a lawyer.
Amongst that folder, were there documents related to their marriage and Miss Redlick?
There was an email that he had printed out that he had sent. Ms.
Objection, this is all hearsay.
There's not been a statement by a declarant.
Not yet. Objection's overruled.
There was an email that you found within that folder.
Yes.
I'm showing defense counsel what is marked as states AV for identification purposes. There were a lot of papers that you ended up collecting.
Yeah, if you'd like to support the channel, please consider becoming a member. Just press the join button or follow the link to SRP I just sent you. You've got access to all the Discord channel and also to our members only videos. You help out a lot for the channel. Actually, a few that run out recently, so we'll be on Jonathan's back. He'll be kicking you out. Not in a bad way, but we're trying to keep you for members only in Discord and stuff like that. So, but yeah, thank you for your support anyway, everybody.
On that particular date from Mr. Redlick's office.
There was.
I did change it. It should have changed now, Sarah. It should have changed to. It was a wrong picture. You're right, but it should have changed. Oh, Monica, lovely Monica. Monica has welcome to the Tackle Club, Monica. Welcome, really appreciate you. Become a member. You can become a Tackle member or a Blue Welsh, guys. It's the same access, just one's cheaper than the other, just to make it affordable to everybody. But thank you, Monica. Very generous of you yesterday and today. So thank you. But yes, RP, the photo should be fine now. Hello, Kimmy. Hello, Kimmy. If you want to support the channel through PayPal, you can do. Never required, but always appreciated. Welcome, Monica. Hello, lovelies. Welcome from Josie as well. Kim, I found the updated one. Happy days. Tim's there as well. Just remember, Kim, we got another trial after this one, a brand new one. Exclusive access from direct from court. It's a webinar we got. So it's nowhere else on YouTube, I don't think. So, well, it wasn't yesterday anyway. So, yeah. So please stick around. You're going to enjoy that one. It's a Kariga trial. So I think you'll enjoy it. This is a background for the trial. In the link here. So, hey, Kim. Cool. And that's the link there, Kim, for it. And tell Sabrina, we've not seen Sabrina for ages. Invite Sabrina to come watch as well. We can play Smack the Pass again then, so it's fine. Right, here we go. Oh, there'll be other streams, man. It was just one. There'll be other streams, Kim. Don't worry. A Dillon exclusive, yes. Unless people start copying me, I don't know. But I was the first one. If people copy me, that's fine. But I was the first one. Why are they so slow?
loyal, well-intended, caring people, namely your
Here we go. There's only one on here. Don't you worry about that. There's only one proper on here then. I'm just going to grab a coffee and be back now. It should be starting now, so.
Desk copy of the May 14th, 2018 email.
That document will be admitted into evidence as the state's next numbered exhibit.
State Exhibit 45.
All right. This time the state requests permission to publish.
Yes. Do you want me to read that now?
Yes.
Okay. Members of the jury, you are about to view a document. The court instructs you that the document has been edited to eliminate irrelevant portions that would not add to your understanding of the case. The fact that the document has been edited should not concern you in any way and must not impact the way you view and consider the evidence.
Okay. So we're going to start at the top, and Detective, I'm going to have you read this exhibit. We start with the sender.
the
You
top.
see it?
Yes.
Yes.
The sender is Danielle Drohan,
And who is it to?
M. Redlick at yahoo.com.
What is the date?
May 14th at 1:19 p.m.
You know this will be 2018.
Yes.
Please read the first paragraph.
Taking the time to write this morning because things need to be addressed. Just going to cut to the chase. If I don't, then my emotions get let out in other ways that don't always serve me, anyone, well. Clearly, yesterday is a good example on the beach, BTW. I think it's funny how you choose to take the morally superior stance by telling me I'm not a Christian because I had a sharp tongue with you regarding your total immoral. shady actions that put truly loving, loyal, well-intended, caring people, namely your wife and kids, in a state of pain and emotional turmoil, not once, not twice, but continually and relentlessly.
Next paragraph.
I know I'm bitter at times, I admit, and no, it's not pretty, and I do need to get a grip, as you put it, but you have a lot of nerve as well. Although my words may be cutting, they are only sounds, a dull knife compared to the sharp, disloyal, deceiving, phony, and never-ending selfish knife you continue to twist in my back, as if it's a sport at this point. Of course, someone would be messed up, traumatized, and may act out.
Next paragraph.
I mean, seriously, the latest discovery and what continues to unfold as the horror story of the century. You know that letter, speech, page of thoughts, garbage, whatever you want to call it, is about as hurtful as it can get in a marriage ending or not. Not to mention, it shows what a dishonest, unscrupulous person you are. Not sure if you even realize that, and blaming it on someone else is sad. In that letter, you are as far from Christ as the devil, and your lies about it all are too.
Next paragraph.
As if the doubt on top of it for me wasn't great enough already. How could I ever be at ease after that? I never recovered from the David sessions, honestly, and certainly you will never help to reverse or move any mountains for me. I know that for sure. I've never met anyone who convinces themselves over and over that their immoral, conniving actions are not just that, but are somehow justified and or reasonable, no matter their cost, harm to others. I notice whenever I confront or attempt to process, work through the cuts your knives wound me with, you have a hard time. Trouble admitting the true nature of just how sharp and dangerous their edges are. There are nonetheless weapons, and you are always claiming the right to hurt me with them. When I ask you about the hurts you put me through, I hate the answers you give me. I mean, how do you love a man who will, because you are acting in agony over the aftermath
Next paragraph.
of his cutting, hurtful actions to begin with? How do you love someone who watches you suffer, go without, fade into, struggle to finish school with no support, not financially, to try and better herself for autonomy and a chance to reclaim the life she always wanted to live? Someone who spites your wishes for respect because they are insecure and angry that you want to be happy.
Next. 2 paragraphs.
That being said, I don't want to spew, rant, hurt anyone. That's the last time and the worst of it in this letter. Actually, I'm writing this to free myself from the bondage I live in for almost a decade. Not all your fault, but I have been so emotionally beat up, my heart assaulted over and over in ways I never imagined possible from someone you love or spent so much time with, invested so much with, had children with. My loyalty all these years has really been the chains that bind me. My own fault. You didn't put them there. My pain got so deep that I did not know how to comfortably live anymore, hence the self-destruction behaviors and unraveling of spirit, neglecting myself and even my kids, because when you neglect yourself, you essentially neglect them. And that was the action I took to mask the longing need to truly be held, seen, regarded, loved. To truly live, that would be to feel that. I'm not sure I ever really felt it. I know I only felt the longing and lived in paranoia that I would perhaps never feel what I am so deeply desired, ached for. I turned away that I deemed as phony attempts to love me. It didn't feel right, so I rejected it.
Next paragraph.
I went on sacrificing my own happiness and ended up jeopardizing my children's as well. I blame you, but really, I am just at fault. I did not take care and I did not act with self-love. I was wrong. I drank, I raged, I became the ugly pain in my heart on the outside. I changed and witnessed a darkness in me that I never knew was there or could be a part of me. My pain made me dark, ugly, and shameful.
Next paragraph.
But really, I don't know how to be happy loving someone who does not represent the things I love or hold sacred. That just sets the stage for pain and for struggle, conflict as it has. I just want to be happy now. I made up my mind that that is what I need to commit to, not a person or marriage, but my own true happiness. What a concept, I know. I think some of us have the subconscious belief deep down that we don't deserve to be happy or that we don't get to be happy until we have suffered and or bled to death first. Well, I think I might be one of those people. And as illogical as the previous statement is, I have suffered, even bled to death, I'd say. And so any subconscious prerequisites to happiness and technically fulfilled. You wrote words that your spouse, lover, does not have the capacity to be happy with anyone, whether that was something you believe.
Detective Ware, was this underlined under even bled to death on the document when you found it?
Yes.
Next paragraph.
relate to are just part of the act for your audience. I know I can be happy. I just haven't committed to it. And I realize you do not hold the keys as I may have mistakenly given you permission to hold for so many years. In fact, it is only I who can hold that key and only I who can unlock the door to my own unhappiness. I know what makes me happy, and I shouldn't let you or anyone rewrite, deny, or offer me anything less, let alone claim that I am not capable. Continue.
Yes, correct.
I was hopeful, sweet, full of life and love when I met you. I came with that, and I'm leaving with that. Whether you see it or not doesn't matter anymore. My face may be dirty, and all I have to do is wash away the grit. But a little TLC back into it, and it will shine as clean as it did the day I met you. It's called taking care and deciding to really tend to my happiness. No more sacrificing, no more sacrifice, suffering, begging, pleading, crying, reducing, wasting away, or wondering what kind of scary pain lurks around the corner next. Anyway, we have to figure out some stuff. I know it's all a mess. Money, my issues, our issues, kids, let's say beach houses and traveling the world aren't exactly the immediate future. I'm embarrassed, ashamed, and sick about everything, but I have to keep trying. And most of all, somehow make it up to the kids, redeem myself as you refer to as well. BTW, for the record, I really wanted the Romeo and Juliet story. I wanted a soulmate to trust, melt into, be there for, even die for if it came down to it, show the depth of my love, and hopefully vice versa. Or just that one person who had your back and you had theirs no matter what, no matter anything. I wanted to be special, and I wanted to treat someone special. Even when the walls came down, I wanted to know that nothing shakes the foundation otherwise. It's the kind of love I wanted our kids to see so they could find it for themselves. Well, I guess you can't take away a person's faith in those things, even if they never come close to them. Or it's just a fairy tale. At least they have something to believe in.
Continuing that paragraph.
Was game, but I don't believe you were ever fully game. You talk like you were, but your so-called love actions never really felt much more than surface or a feed the need type deal, and still do to this day. I knew when you pulled your arm away for that first time, I tried to make it a special love, and I knew it the day I married you. I think you limited me to serve and protect yourself. You are deathly afraid of being vulnerable and or selfless. You are definitely nobody's victim, and I have to say good for you. But when you protect yourself so much to the point you miss the opportunity to experience something completely real, you lose anyway. And sadly, so does the other person. I wish we could have had that. I really do. And don't say we can, because all that has happened canceled that potential, and I would always wonder what is in your head, because I discovered so many shocking things that you hid. I see you as always self-serving, and you can't really trust that. Trust is the biggest part of all of this. Love is trust. I hope we pull out a better future for our kids. I hope we get back to or become the right people for them, independent of the failed marriage. Help me, help them, please. I'm clearly not perfect and may even be a crappier person than I ever thought I had potential to be, but damn it, I love with great depth too. As far as that stuff you wrote, we both know how crushing it is, and so I won't ask you about it anymore. And I would appreciate if you wouldn't explain it anymore. You do me no favors with your answers, maybe even lies, unless you could literally write across the sky and shout to the world how wrong you have been. Hurting and betraying me with the Nicole antics, not standing up for me and putting another woman you barely know before me, tearing me down as a mother to the kids, spiting me with your meetings, outright physical and emotional abandonment, not supporting me in difficult times, and literally degrading my name and almost leaving me to rot and hurt and fight my way back to a safe place. And let's not forget not taking care of my needs as a human. Yep, that's a lot, I know. Most of that you deny, justify, or excuse. Plus, it isn't physically possible to write that in the sky or shout it for all to hear, including Nicole. I'm realistic. And if you really do have feelings for that woman, I guess now is the time. I'm still hurt and it cuts, but I have the ability to move on too. So who knows from here? I guess we need to get it together as best as we can. Talk to you later then. Dams.
No further questions, Ms.
So
You're the lead detective in this case,
Yes, ma'am.
and your job is to investigate what happened
Yes,
and to find out what happened,
yes,
to find out everything that led up to the incident.
yes,
And that's why you went to the McDonald's,
yes.
because you had information that Miss Redlick had gone to McDonald's the night of the incident.
That's correct.
And you obtained the video from McDonald's of Miss Redlick's drive-through purchase,
Yes,
which you saw that the state entered into evidence yesterday.
yes,
And as part of finding out everything you can about the day of the incident and what led up to the event, you were also able to determine Michael Redlick's whereabouts for the day of January 11th, 2019.
that's correct.
Okay, can you tell us everywhere that Michael went on January 11th, 2019?
Yes. So he went to work in the morning, and when he left work, he stopped by ABC Liquors on Howell Branch and then went home. And after that, he went to his son's football game and then came back home.
You found vodka at the Redlick home, right?
Yes,
And based on your investigation, as you stated, Michael Redlick went to the ABC liquor store to purchase alcohol,
that's correct.
and that alcohol was vodka.
Yes,
And you knew that he went at 16:42 hours,
that's correct.
which is basically 4:42 p.m.
Yes.
And this is the one that's located at 1425 Howell Branch, Winter Park.
Yes,
You knew that ABC liquor store had video surveillance,
that's correct.
and you obtained video surveillance of Michael Redlick purchasing vodka at ABC liquor store the day of the incident.
Yes,
You met with a Gregory Miller from ABC liquor store.
yes,
He was the records custodian of the video surveillance for the store that Michael Redlick visited.
yes,
And you obtained a business record certification from Gregory Miller.
did.
And he swore to you that the video he was giving you
Objection, hearsay.
Let me ask a question.
I'm not sure how old she was. Um, I think she's always been an adult. When he was her stepfather, I think she was an adult. She's 45 at the time of this. She'd been married to him 17 years, say 20, that's 25. And he married a mother in between. So I think she'd been like, I don't think he was like, she was a child when he was her stepfather. I'm trying to look it up, but I can't find anything. Do we know if she was in custody? No, I don't know. And I don't really want to look, if you've been honest with me. As soon as we look, we're going to find the result. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know. From what I gather from all this was he didn't marry her mother for love. He married her mother because they were friends and because she had cancer, but couldn't protect. Didn't have the national, didn't have medical insurance, so they got married so she could have his medical insurance. I'm not sure how it works in America. Is how I understand it. So I'm not sure how in love they were. So again, I don't want to delve too much into it, but I think it was friendship / convenience, a little bit of it. So I'm trying not to judge. I don't know enough about this to judge. I could be a little bit wrong there, Tim. I could be wrong. I just don't want to look too much. Here we go.
So that objection is sustained.
When you went to the ABC liquor store, did you meet with Gregory Miller?
Yes,
And did he pull up the video from January 11, 2019?
Yes.
Did you watch it?
Yes, I did.
And then did he provide a copy of that video that you watched?
Yes, he did.
That video showed Michael Redlick.
Objection, best evidence.
Sustained.
Is this the only video you've obtained from Gregory Miller?
Yes, it is.
And this video showed
Objection, best evidence.
Sustained. Next question.
you took Danielle's cell phone on January 12, 2019,
That's correct.
and she voluntarily gave it to you.
She gave it to Sergeant Struby, and which she gave to me.
And she also gave you her password.
That's correct.
And this was before she left for the hospital.
Yes,
And that's why she had to call you to get phone numbers from her own phone.
that's correct.
And you kept her cell phone.
Yes, we did.
And you kept it even though we heard in the call yesterday that she wanted it.
Yes,
And the phone has been kept in evidence.
yes,
It has never been returned back to her.
correct.
The house was also not released that same day, was it?
It was released not the same day.
And what day was it released?
It was released on the 13th of January.
And you had also collected electronics from that house.
That's correct.
There were laptops,
Yes,
iPads,
yes,
cell phones,
yes,
and you collected it all.
yes,
Now, as part of your investigation, you went to the medical examiner's office as they were conducting the autopsy.
that's correct.
And you stayed with the medical examiner throughout the entire autopsy
Yes,
because you wanted information for your investigation.
yes,
You wanted to know how many wounds Mr. Redlick had.
that's correct.
And you saw that Mr. Redlick had a stab wound.
Yes, that's correct.
And you learned that Michael Redlick would have bled out within 5 to 6
Objection, improper opinion, hearsay, as to what the medical examiner's opinion regarding the time of Michael's death.
Ms. Conlon?
I'll rephrase my question. You said earlier today that you thought this could have been, you were investigating it as an accidental stabbing. Is that right?
Suspicious death.
But you were looking at all possibilities.
That's correct.
And that included accident,
Yes,
self-defense.
yes,
And part of your investigation would have been important for you to know how long it took for Michael Redlick to die.
that's correct.
And you received that information from the medical examiner.
Yes, I did.
Now, Michael Redlick had a cell phone.
Yes, he did.
It was in his pocket,
Yes,
and you have that in evidence.
we do.
So when you visited or when you were conducting a search of the Redlick home on January 12th, you mentioned earlier, whether it was yesterday or today, that you also went into the house with the CSTs.
That's correct.
And the CSTs are trained to document evidence,
Yes, they are.
to collect evidence,
Yes,
collect relevant evidence.
yes,
And you also walked in with them pinpointing items of evidence that you wanted collected.
yes.
So it was the three of you?
It was the three of us.
Okay.
going in.
And you guys were thorough?
Yes, we were.
And the CSTs were thorough?
Yes,
And you knew Miss Redlick immediately afterwards was transported to the hospital.
that's correct.
You knew that she was going to be going to the Baker Act Center.
I knew after I talked to her that she would be Baker acted.
Okay? And you knew she would be held for at least 72 hours.
That's correct.
And you had found out that Danielle's family had arrived into town.
Later, they arrived. Yes,
Okay. And you had conversations with Danielle's family.
yes, I did.
And you spoke with Danielle's family.
Yes,
And you wanted to make sure that you wanted to make sure that before they went back into the house, that the house was cleaned.
yes. I told them that before they let the kids back into the house, it needed to be cleaned.
In fact, you advised that it should be professionally cleaned.
That's correct.
And so you would understand that cleaning would naturally mean
Hi, Kathy from South Africa. Hope you're doing well, Kathy.
throwing what appeared to them to be either garbage. Is that a yes?
Yes,
And things that, because by that time, police had already took all of the relevant evidence, right?
At that time, what we thought was relevant, we had taken yes.
Okay. So they were free to clean up the house
That's correct.
and throw out anything that either had blood on it or looked like garbage.
That's correct.
You mentioned on the second search warrant that there was diaries found,
Yes.
and you read all the entries.
Yes.
What was entered into evidence, those were just some of the diary entries.
That's correct.
You mentioned earlier that you were surreptitiously recording Danielle Redlick,
Yes.
and this was when she was at the mental hospital?
On the phone. When she called, we record the phone calls.
So she was at the mental hospital.
Yes, she was at the mental hospital.
You're recording that call
Yes.
surreptitiously.
Yes.
And that also included the time when you were executing the buccal swab which we heard.
Correct.
So let's talk about that warrant that you served. Part of that procedure including putting on handcuffs.
Yes.
And this was done at her house.
Yes, it was.
You could hear the noise that we heard in the beginning. It was police putting handcuffs on her.
That's correct.
You did this in front of her children?
Yes, they were home.
And what we heard was her asking to get the kids inside.
Yes.
And she's initially crying
Yes, she is.
that it's not fair her kids can see this.
Correct.
May I have a moment?
Yes, ma'am.
Like, the police don't care. The police is just like, whatever, just get arrested. In you go, sunshine. Unless it's one of their friends or family members. Hello, Kathy. Hi, Sarah.
Thank you, Ms. Conlon. Mr. Wiggins, redirect.
Detective Ware, the actual execution of the search warrant that recorded conversation, where was Miss Redlick when that occurred?
She was sitting in my car.
Doors were closed,
Doors were closed.
so her children couldn't hear what she was saying.
That's correct.
No further questions.
Detective Ware, you may step down. Thank you. Take your next witness.
Yeah, because that makes it all the better, doesn't it? Right, here we go. It's quite interesting. I like the balance we got now on this trial and then the other trial. We've got a good balance, I think. I hope people come and watch the other trial because it is unique. Oh, here we go. Who's this 50? I don't know if she's a 50.
The testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Ma'am, would you please state your full name for the record, spell your first and last name?
Marcia Inglis, Marcia Engillis.
Thank you. Mr. Seeger.
Could you please tell the jury do you currently live here in Orange County?
Yes, I do.
And do you currently live in Winter Park?
Just outside of Winter Park.
And at one point in time, did you know both Michael and Danielle Redlick?
Yes.
And how long did you know both Michael and Danielle Redlick?
It's probably been about 6 or 7 years. Our boys are in school together and we play baseball. So
And I know it's been a while, but if you saw Danielle, would you be able to identify her? Okay. Could you look around the courtroom and see if you see Danielle?
I see her in the gray silver jacket in the middle. Great.
Now, I'd like to direct your attention to Friday, January 11th, back in 2019. Were you present at a football game that night? Yes? I know you're a little soft-spoken. Can you speak up just a little bit?
Yes.
Okay. Now, that evening, now you said something about the boys playing football. Do you have a son?
I do. Yes.
And what's his name?
Ryan
And you said that he played football with Sawyer?
Sawyer. They're on a flag football team together.
Okay. And Sawyer was...
Hi, Tracy. So, the next trial we have, Tracy, is your time, Pacific time. It's the Carriga family trial murder from Seattle in Washington. So, time zone wise, it's quite good for you, maybe. So, we're going to watch that straight after this one. So if you want to join us for that one, Tracy, you're more than welcome to. Well, everyone is, but
Danielle and Michael's son?
Correct, yes.
Okay. And back in 2019, what grade were they in? Do you remember? It's been a while.
Fifth grade, I think.
Fifth grade. Okay. And so was there a flag football game that night?
Yes, there was.
did she bring us the hair?
And prior to the flag football game, had there been any arrangements for Sawyer to stay the night at your house?
Yes. My son came home that night from school and they knew they had a flag football game together. So they had just asked if they could have a sleepover. So after the game, they had just talked about coming back to my house after the game.
And had arrangements been made for Sawyer to spend the night at your house before the game had even started?
It did. After he came home from school, I texted Danielle and just asked if he could come with us after the game.
And so that had already been approved and plans had already been made before the game had started? Yes? Okay. And so that night at the game, was Michael Redlick at the game at all?
Michael was coaching the game, yes.
So he was a coach that evening?
He was a coach for the team.
And do you remember, I know it's been just a bit, do you remember when the game started that night at all?
I believe it was an 8 p.m. game. So it was the latest game. So I think it was an 8 p.m. game.
Do you remember how Michael got to the game that night?
I do not know.
Okay. But did you see Michael at the game that
I did see him. Yes, he was on the sidelines coaching the team.
Okay. And did you have an opportunity to observe Michael that night?
I did. Again, just kind of watching the game, watching the boys. That was really all. I didn't.
Okay. Could you describe Michael's demeanor that evening?
I mean, he seemed okay that night. Just again, he was on the sidelines doing his normal thing of coaching the game. So.
Okay. Now, at any point in time that evening, did Danielle ever come over to the game?
Yes, I did see her at the game.
Okay. And do you know what time that she arrived? Was it like in the middle of the game, towards the end of the game?
I think it was shortly after it started. She arrived.
Okay. And do you know how she arrived at the game?
I believe in her car, yes.
So she drove there?
She drove there in a car, yes.
Okay. And at some point in time in the evening, did you happen to have some interaction with Danielle that night?
Yeah, as we were leaving the game was over. We were just walking to the parking lot together because the boys were getting ready to leave. So I did walk out and just had a brief conversation with her.
Okay. And so did you have an opportunity to observe Danielle that evening?
I did, yes.
And what was Danielle's demeanor that night?
She just seemed irritated, upset. Something was on her mind.
Okay. And you said that you had an opportunity to have a brief conversation. What, if anything, did Danielle tell you that evening?
She just said it had been a strange evening.
Okay. That evening, did you have an opportunity to actually observe Danielle? Like physically observe Danielle?
Yes, because we walked out to the parking lot together.
Did you see any injuries on Danielle that night?
No.
I know this might be a strange question. Did she ask you for help or anything that evening?
No.
Okay. So that night, did you see Danielle leave?
Yes, she left in her car.
Okay. And did Sawyer leave with you that night?
Yes, he did.
And how did you guys leave? Like, how did you guys leave the football field that night?
We left in our vehicle. We got the boys food and then went back to our house.
Okay. And did you ever hear from Danielle again?
No, not that evening.
Not that evening. Okay. Would you hear from Danielle the next day?
Yes.
Okay. And how did you hear from Danielle the next day?
I received a text from her that morning just asking if I could keep Sawyer after the next morning's football game because there was a family emergency.
Okay, so let's chat about that for just a minute. So you said you received a text from Danielle. Was that a text to your cell phone? Okay. And what cell phone number did you have at the time?
It's the same.
The same number you have now? And what number is that?
407-399-1749.
Okay. And so you received a text from Danielle, and was that from her cell phone?
Correct, yes.
Okay. And I know this is going to be a leap. Do you remember her cell phone all these years later?
I don't.
No. Okay. But when you received the text, you recognized it coming from her cell phone?
Yes.
Okay. And so that morning, what did that text say from Danielle?
If I recall, it said, can you please keep Sawyer after the game? If not, you can stay at Brian Brown's. We have a family emergency.
So
to that effect.
Okay. So she said that there was a family emergency. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And do you remember approximately what time you received that text in the morning?
I think it was maybe around 10 a.m. I think they had an 11 o'clock game or something that morning. So it was morning time.
Okay. So prior to the 11 o'clock game?
Yes.
So that was on Saturday. Did you ever hear from Danielle after that text? So then let me ask you this. Did Sawyer stay with you all day on Saturday?
He did, yes.
Let's go forward to Sunday. Did you hear from Danielle at all on Sunday?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And was this a text or a phone call?
It was a phone call.
So did she call your cell again?
Yes, she did.
Okay. And when she called, was it from her cell or from a different number? Or do you not remember at this point?
I don't think it was from a number I recognized. So
okay. And when she called, what did she tell you?
She said, "Hi, this is Danielle. You've heard there's been where's an emergency?" And she had just mentioned Michael had passed away. I think it was a heart attack. And then she requested to speak to Sawyer.
And did you let her speak with Sawyer?
Yes.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Cross-examination, Mr. Parnell?
Yes, sir. Good morning.
Morning.
Your son, how old is he now?
He is 14.
And at the time prior to January 11th, 2019, he was good friends with Sawyer, best friends with Sawyer. Sawyer stayed at your house. Your son stayed at the Redlick house
Yes.
numerous occasions.
Yes.
So he would be supervised by Danielle, by Michael on numerous occasions. And that was even recent before January 11th. I know you probably don't know the last day, but in the short time frame leading up to it.
Yes.
The call that you received from Danielle on the 13th, do you know where she was physically located when she called you?
No, I don't.
Okay. And she was calling to speak to Sawyer? And when you had talked about the family emergency, she let you know that her husband had passed away? Okay. Nothing further, Judge.
Any redirect?
No, Your Honor.
All right, thank you very much, ma'am. You may step down. State your next witness.
Maria Molina.
Maria Molina. They go through it quite quick. Maria Molina. Who is she then? There's a lot of intricacies in this trial, I think. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba. Audio, please. Audio.
Maria Molina, Molina.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Wiggins.
Good morning, Miss Molina.
Good morning.
What do you do?
What do I do?
Yeah.
Okay, right now I've been 3 years retired from UCF. What do I do? I spend a great deal of time with my humongous family. We have like 10 grandkids, 4 great grandkids, and there's never time for me to do what I need to do.
Okay.
I have so many. I'm a very diverse person, and so basically, I like to do so many
Okay,
things, and I like
stop.
spending time with my family, etc.
Thank you.
You mentioned you previously worked at UCF.
I did. I worked for I want to say 26 years.
Was it while working at UCF you met an individual named Michael Redlick?
I did.
Can you explain to the jury how you came to meet Mr. Michael Redlick?
Okay, well, so Mike worked at the DeVos program, where I worked from the onset of the program, which is 2002. So by the time he came in, I was already established there. And so he was there for already maybe 5+ years.
Can you tell the jury what he did for the DeVos program?
I do believe that he was the one that was in charge of placing the students in jobs, etc., which is actually, I would say, the most important job, because once they graduated, they got their dual masters.
Hello, beautifully appropriate. How are you? Just to let you know as well, there's another trial we're watching in about an hour and a half, brand new one. So if you want to join us for that one as well. So we're watching this, then we'll get a kick over to the next one. But hello, hope you're well.
They wanted to be working and making money, etc. So he was kind of like, I think his job was amazing.
Okay.
And he had a lot of connections and he was really good at his job.
What was your role in the office that Mr. Redlick was working in?
Okay, so my role, I was kind of like office manager, administrative assistant. I was the one that was in the office the most. And so people would be either traveling, perhaps working remotely from home, but I was always in the office. So I interacted a lot with the students and my team workers.
Did your working relationship with Michael develop into a friendship?
Yes, it did. First of all, he was quite charming. He was
Objection, bolstering, narrative.
Sustained on bolstering.
I'm just saying that he was a nice guy.
Hold on, just Ms. Molina, whenever I make my ruling on that, just wait until you hear from either myself or
Yes,
Mr.
ma'am.
Wiggins. Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Can you explain sort of the sequence of events that led you guys to being friends?
Okay. Well, first of all, in the office, it was a small office, and so we all had a great working relationship. Mike was, I believe that he was selling he was selling a bunk bed that was it was great for what I needed for one of the rooms in my house because I would have the grandkids over, and so I thought it was ideal. So I told him, I said, let me look at it. Maybe I'd be interested. And so I did. I went over with my husband to the house, and we looked at the bunk bed, etc. And we ended up buying it. It was great. So it was a good buy.
Objection, narrative.
This is responsive to question, Your Honor.
Okay, I'm going to overrule the objection, but it is bordering on being narrative. It's not quite yet.
I'll ask another question. Ms. Molina, can you explain how buying a bunk bed actually develops a friendship?
Okay, so then he was generous, and he said to me, "Hey,
Objection, proper bolstering.
Sustained.
What did he say to you?
he said, would you be interested in?"
Hold on.
Not
Jeez.
offered for the truth of the matter asserted. It's effect on the listener.
Objection is overruled on the hearsay grounds. You
Go
can
ahead.
answer that
What
question.
did he offer you?
Some pots.
And did you take him up on the offer?
Yes, I did.
And how many pots are we talking about?
We're talking about an entire set of Cuisinart pots.
Okay. And he gave these to you.
Yes.
Did you do something sort of in return for him giving you pots?
Yes, I was grateful, and so I had his family over.
Objection, relevance.
Approach, please.
Come on, Judge. Let's stump this out. This is getting beyond a joke now. I mean, for both sides, it's beyond a joke.
Redlick family.
Yes, I did.
And is it how many years ago was that?
That was I'm gonna say how many years ago? Oh boy, 3, perhaps 4.
Okay. From there, does this working relationship kind of also take on a friendship relationship?
Yes.
Do you spend time in Mr. Redlick's home? You go over to his house sometimes.
Well, they came over to our house, and then they wanted to reciprocate, and so we were supposed to go over, but we actually did not.
Okay. So he came over to your house, but you didn't go over to his.
Yes.
Did you have an opportunity to get to know his children through this
Oh, yes,
relationship?
very well, because he used to bring them to the office, especially the younger one.
Would Mr. Redlick share personal things about his life with you?
He would talk about his kids all the time. I think that he was.
Objection, non-responsive. Narrative.
Overruled on narrative. Overruled on non-responsive.
So he would share things about his kids.
Yes. Yeah.
Did you become aware in 2018 that Mr. Redlick was moving out of the home that he shared with his family?
Yes.
How did you become aware?
Yes, because I did his paperwork for travel, etc. And so obviously reimbursement purposes, etc. I would need an address, and so I was provided with another address.
That you had no longer that was new for Mr. Redlick.
Exactly.
Before providing that new address, did he actually ask you for some advice about maybe where he could move?
Yes. Yes, he did.
Why did he? How did he know to ask you for advice on
Because
maybe?
I have we had a couple of properties, and so we knew people with properties, etc. And so I actually showed him one of our friends' property.
Did you become aware in late 2018 that he actually moved back into the residence?
Yes.
Were you still working with him through the month of December into January of 2019?
Yes.
At any point, and are you working with him on almost a daily basis?
Just about.
At any point, did Michael Redlick ever give you an indication that he was depressed or had lost his lust for life?
No, sir.
Were you actually in the office with Michael on January the 11th?
I was.
Can you tell the jury about what you kind of observed of Michael when you were in the office with him?
Okay. It was a Friday, and he was in the office. Before I came in the office, I would normally come in around 8:30. And so he was already working because he was in charge of the students that morning. We normally had speaker series, but that Friday, we did not. And so I don't recall exactly, I think the students had presentations, etc., but he was in charge of the students. And so that was in another building.
Did you actually get to interact with him that day?
Yes.
Did he seem like his normal self?
Yes, he did. Just tired.
From a long week?
Tired from a long week, from a long morning, because he started earlier than usual.
When was the last time you saw him?
It was approximately, I want to say, vicinity of maybe 2:30, 3 o'clock.
And then you never saw him again?
No.
I have no further questions. Let's go.
Ms. Conlon.
Ms. Molina, on January 11, 2019, when you saw Michael at work, he let you know he was going to leave early that day. Is that right?
Oh, we already knew because everything was already scheduled. And so he was scheduled to be in one of the classrooms where the students would be doing, I think it was, like I said, presentations. So he had to be there at like 7:30. And I remember getting a call about setting a password on the computer, et cetera. So I know he was already there. And then when he returned to the office, I want to say it was probably after 12. And then he was in the office for a couple hours after.
Okay. So he was going to leave early that day.
Yes.
And did you know he was considering a new job?
Say it again?
Did you know that he was considering a new job?
That he would consider a new job? Not
That he-
really, no.
And did he confide in you about his medical issues?
Well, he would, I know he had problem with his leg.
Objection, Your Honor, relevance. Can we approach?
Yes.
It's getting a bit out of hand now. Objection, objection, objection. I'm fast forwarding it a little bit.
Let you know how he was performing at his job?
How he was performing at his
Yes. At UCF, they give evaluations, right?
We did evaluations on everyone.
Okay. And an evaluation was done on Michael Redlick.
To be honest with you, I don't recall all of that detail. It's been a while.
Did Michael Redlick share with you the performance grades that he got?
No.
Nothing further.
Mr. Wiggins.
No redirect, Your Honor.
Ms. Molina, you may step down. Your next witness, state.
Keith Gruen.
Good old Keith Gruen. Come on, Keith. Come on down. Price is right. Keith Gruen. Keith Gruen. Keith Gruen. Keith Gruen. I don't know how we spell it. Let's go with that one. And I'll change it.
Please solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Oh, Kim,
Sir, would
you're
you
like
please
20
state
minutes
your full name
behind.
for the
Kim.
record, spelling your first and last name.
Keith Andrew Gruen, Keithgruen.
All right, thank you so much. Mr. Wiggins?
Mr. Gruen, where do you live?
Boulder, Colorado.
What do you do there?
I own a dating site called meetmindful.com, and I operate a coaching business.
What is your role currently as the owner of meetmindful.com?
Everything operational, so everything from marketing through finance, and I also handle all of the tech concerns
How long have you been involved with meetmindful.com?
since 2015.
What have been your roles starting in 2015 within the website?
Came on as a member of the founding team, primarily working in marketing, and then as we scaled and expanded, moved into operations, people operations, and finance.
From there, became an owner.
Correct. Yep.
Through these positions, have you gained knowledge and experience as it relates to the record keeping and the databases of information that are produced when someone interacts with your dating website?
Yes.
Before we go into those details, would you tell the jury a little bit about what Meet Mindful is?
So Meet Mindful is an app and dating website focused on a market that is interested in personal development, health, wellness, yoga, organic eating, and other mindful activities.
Were you contacted by the Winter Park Police Department back in early 2019 with a request to produce a set of records pursuant to a warrant?
Yes, I was.
And were you provided with a name and or an email address to target the search warrant at?
Both name and email.
What were you provided with?
A name and an email that we were able to cross-reference with our user database.
And by using that name and email, did you in fact find responsive records?
I did.
Okay, and do you remember the name and email?
It was Danielle Redlick, and it was D. Drohan at, I believe, yahoo.com.
All right. Your Honor, at this time, the state would seek to publish what's been marked as states 44 for identification purposes.
Okay, you can publish that.
Okay. And were you ultimately the person that was responsible for culling all of these records, going into all the various database sets and producing a record of everything that was there associated with this particular use?
I did, sir.
And are you familiar with the contents of these specific records and how they interpret them?
Yes, sir.
All right, so let's start to talk about what we can learn from these particular records. Looking at page 3 of 62, let's just start at the top. Is there a unique identifier number associated with this particular account?
That ID number is the unique identifier associated with this account.
Would you see that number associated with certain portions of this record rather than maybe a name or a
The name is tied to the ID number, and everything else within our system is attributed to that ID.
All right, so what is the name associated with this particular account?
That would be Danielle. There is no last name listed, but the username is Dan Drohan.
An email address?
And email as dandrohan@yahoo.com.
How is it that this information is obtained when a person like Ms. Redlick signs up for your website?
So they would land on a landing page on our website and then either connect through email or via Facebook. In this case, the sign-up method was email because we do not have a last name present.
Would the user be sort of faced with a number of basic information gathering questions at the stage of the sign-up?
Yes,
And do we see some of the responses to those sort of basic information gathering questions within this data set?
we do in further pages.
Okay. So what about this? What's this?
That is their current relationship status. So whether or not the user that signs up is single, separated, married, divorced, etc.
So does this indicate that when Ms. Redlick signed up for it, she indicated that she was separated?
It appears so.
I want to go to the created at line. What are you able to determine from this particular entry?
That is the UTC timestamp in the database for when the actual user ID was created. So it's essentially the start of the user creation.
This is sort of the beginning of the user account on the Meet Mindful website.
Correct.
Would you tell the jury what it is they're looking at in this particular data set, page 7 of 62, user details table record?
Yes. So when a user signs up, they fill out a basic profile, and then we begin collecting activity about their activity on the site or the app. And this data it describes a number of things, including the total number of profiles that the user favorited or hid or sent messages, received messages, other activity like that.
So sort of like a running tally of certain activities that the user's engaging in while employing and moving around the website.
That's correct.
So for instance, user messages sent, user messages received, that's a tally of how many were sent, how many were received.
Exactly.
And can you explain to the jury what we see in the Meet Mindful database profile question responses?
Yes. So as we just spoke about, when the user signs up for an account, they fill out a profile. And this is the data that was entered in for a number of various questions, like what they practice in terms of their mindfulness, if they're a volunteer, what that might look like, etc.
So we'll see some very specific sort of like Meet Mindful type questions for people who are interested in this type of lifestyle.
Correct. Yep.
For instance, their yoga habits or spirituality.
Correct. So this would indicate that the user does yoga on Monday and Wednesday evenings, and that's a little bit more detail that they would have given.
Okay, maybe some more traditional type queries. When you're just looking for a box, can you please read what the person who signed up for this account wrote?
Sure. Looking for down-to-earth, kind of deep would be interesting. Passionate, zest for life type guy with sense of humor to spend time with, and hopefully shares same definition on love. Also not going to lie, love the whole Romeo Juliet fairy tale, but I keep it real. I think having a real, meaningful, and strong connection is what appeals to me.
And we're going to look at the bottom of page 14, this bottom box. Can you please explain to the jury what they see here?
So this data point, when someone signs up for a profile, they can select which relationship type they are interested in. And this user selected dating, friendship, and long-term relationship as options.
Now, how do these photos end up in your particular database?
As a part of account creation, the user would have a chance to upload several photos representing themselves.
And are these photos that the person who was maintaining and using this account uploaded to associate with their database?
Yes.
Page 18 of 62, another example of a photo that the user of the account uploaded to their dating profile.
You're correct.
And
All of these photos.
Meet mindful user messages. What does this data set?
This is a compilation of all of the draft and sent messages that a user created in a conversation that we exported for this data, for this evidence.
So you're going to look at, you're going to see both sides of the sort of conversation.
Correct.
So would this be an example of, let's see here, this 9372030, an outgoing message of the user's account, sending it to a person who's being referred as Mark?
That's correct.
Would you please read what the user of this account wrote to Mark?
21 or 30. Hey, Mark, I ended up not going to Disney Springs, but I'm leaving it on the list. The weekend got a little off track with the unexpected, however, all good. Sometimes you just have to go with life, with what life puts in front of you. Actually, that's technically called surrendering to life, which is probably something I should practice all the time. Sorry, not breach my mindfulness, LOL. So when do you leave for Buffalo? I'm jealous. You may see now. You may see snow. If you happen to be captivated and want to share a pic or two, feel free.
So let's turn to the last page of the record, page 62. What's the jury going to see in this data set as we sort of start at the beginning and work our way towards the end?
So this record comes from a program called Mixpanel, which tracks all user behavior across our application. So what you'll see is from the beginning, when the user viewed the homepage, tried to connect with Facebook, and then created their account, and then all of the subsequent user interactions, clicking on buttons, viewing pages, viewing profiles, etc.
So basically everything the user does, we have kind of a tick-tock of that activity.
Correct.
So we're looking at Wednesday, December 5th, 2018. Do you see, based off your knowledge of how the database works, how the signups work, and sort of the sequence of events that's consistent with someone coming onto your website for the first time?
Several edited profiles here, and we would go in time from the bottom to the top. So they're clicking through the onboarding tour. That's the fourth step in the onboarding, which is how we let folks know how to use the app and what to expect. You can see several photo uploads that were referenced just prior to this. Setting new primary photos, deleting photos, editing profile, and then we can start to see editing mindfulness profile details. So this user is actively filling out their account and preparing to be on our website.
And if you were to sort of make our way through time, would you see every day the website is interacted with and everything that was done on the website on that particular day?
Yes.
Okay, so let's jump ahead in time a bit. And kind of talk about what these entries tell you about how the user of this account was interacting with the website at the time.
So normal use would be folks viewing profiles and then either liking or hiding profiles as they move through, which we can see at the bottom of that. They also received favorites, which sent notifications to them to bring them back into the app. Favorites are likes, essentially.
So we see something like viewed a profile. That's the user activity. of this account viewing a profile.
Right. This user has viewed another profile on Be Mindful.
What we see was viewed that someone else interacted with this user's account.
Correct.
And so we're seeing activity on Ms. Redlick's account all through December 8th of 2019.
Correct.
Hiding a user, viewing a profile, so on and so forth.
Yep. Yes.
We'll move forward in time. Okay, so let's go to Tuesday, December 25th, 2018, Christmas. Is this consistent?
The user was sent a notification, which would have been our daily match email, suggesting new matches to the user. They opened the application, which could happen on web or mobile, began their profile session, viewed a few profiles, viewed their messages, viewed a specific message, and then reopened the app later in the evening.
Is that what we see here? It sounds like you made a distinction between viewed conversations and viewed a conversation.
Viewed conversations is the loading of our conversation page, which is essentially an email inbox, and viewing a conversation is clicking into a specific message.
So if I had my phone and I went into my messages and saw all my text messages sort of lined up there, it's sort of like that action.
That would be viewed conversations. And if you clicked into one of those messages, it would be viewed a conversation.
Oh, let's talk about this. The times that are being reported here, where are they coordinated to?
Mountain Standard Time.
So how many hours would you have to adjust to represent local time here in Raleigh?
You would need to add 2 hours, I believe.
Okay, 2 hours. All right, so do we see activity of the user on New Year's Eve?
We do.
And New Year's Day on page 35 of 62.
That's correct.
And the day after New Year's.
Correct.
And moving through January 7th, more activity, you agree?
Yes.
And January 8th and January 9th.
Yes.
And again on January 10th.
Correct.
And then we see activity of the user on Friday, January 11th.
We do.
So we look here on Friday, January 11th. Let's kind of talk about what the user of this account was doing based off of this data.
So based on this data at 6:37 Mountain Standard Time, the homepage of our website was viewed, which is often how users get to our login page. The app was open, and then they continued through their daily profile sessions, viewing and hiding profiles for what appears to be around 10 minutes.
January 11th, so local time, we're talking about 8:37 a.m. in Orlando.
Correct.
Good morning, January 11th. Was there user data associated with January 12th?
I believe so.
Is that what we see here?
That's correct.
So this is evidence that the user of this particular dating website on January 12th, 2019, interacted with your dating website.
That's correct.
And specifically, what time?
5:22 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, the application was opened. The user then viewed their conversations page. It looks like the app was closed and opened several times. That could be a refresh. And then the data continues.
Okay. So adjust that for this jury. Tell this jury what time the user of this particular dating website was interacting with your website.
That would be 2 hours later, which I believe is around 8:27 or 22.
Well, 5 plus 2.
5 plus 2 is 7.
There we go.
So 7 a.m.
So 7:22 a.m. The user is on your dating website.
That's correct.
I have no further questions this way.
Ms. Conlon? Before you start, can you and Mr. Wiggins come up right quick?
Yeah, I'll go through the witnesses quick. Right, come on, silly Jim. I bet this guy's had some spanking, Kims. Tim, sorry, not Kim.
I want to talk to you about January 11th, 2019. It looks like the last user activity was 3:24 Eastern Standard Time. Is that right?
That's correct.
And then let's move on to Saturday, January 12th. So for January 12th, we have 2 activities for around the 7:22. Is that right?
That's correct.
We have, it says 5:22, but it's 7:22 Eastern Standard Time.
Mhm.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
Okay, and so this was a general viewed conversations.
Yes.
It was not the other one that was, that you mentioned, view a conversation.
Correct.
Have you had an opportunity to review what was just admitted into evidence?
These documents?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. The last message that Ms. Redlick received was before January 11th, 2019. The last message that she had received was on January 8th. Is that right?
I believe so. Yes.
Okay. And the last message that she had sent prior to January 11th was that Tuesday, the Tuesday before. Is that right?
If that lines up with the dates in this doc, yes.
Would it help if I?
That'd be great if you wouldn't mind.
And who's the witness? Yes, ma'am.
Bum, 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 bum. Bum, bum, bum,
The user sent occurred at 1/8/19, 3:45 p.m.
What was the time?
3:45 p.m. And that's in UTC. So it would have been in the evening of the 8th.
Got it. So she was not sending or receiving any messages on January 11th or January 12th. Is that right?
Correct.
Nothing further.
Can you redirect, Mr. Jenkins?
No, Your Honor.
Sir, you may step down. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we're at a natural break for lunch. It's about 10 minutes to 12, so let's all come back at 1:30 and we will begin the afternoon, and we'll finish up today at 5:30. Have a great lunch and be mindful not to talk about this case or any of the testimony that you have heard. Don't do any research as well. Have a good lunch.
All right, beautiful people. I'm just trying to figure out how much we got left here. Hang on, let me get off here for a second. Then bring this here. Oh, right, okay. Beep, 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 beep. 117 minus that. Okay. This is 2, 3, 4, 5. 2, 3, 4, 5. Hour there. I think we call it a day there for this one. Pretty flowers. You want them often. Do you come here often? No. Do you walk them often? No. What do you want to go do, guys? Do you want to carry on for another hour? You can do. Oh, do you know what? There, let's carry on then. I'll go straight over to the other one. Let's carry on. Beep, 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 beep.
Concerned about you all. So if you're dry and ready to go, we are as well.
Let's
Mr.
get
Wiggins?
to it.
Yes, Your Honor. This time the state calls Stuart James.
We'll go for about half an hour anyway. Stuart James. That's a proper Welsh name. Stuart James. Sarah P.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Good afternoon, sir. James, would you please state your full name for the record and spell your first and last name?
Yes. My name is Stuart, first name Stuart, middle initial is H, and last name is James, James.
Mr. Wiggins?
Good afternoon, Mr. James.
Yes, good afternoon, everybody, too.
What do you do?
I am currently a forensic scientist, and I have a specialty, if you will, in bloodstain pattern analysis in terms of reconstruction of scenes where blood has been shed.
How long have you been working in the field of bloodstain pattern analysis?
Approximately 42 years.
Would you please take the jury through your educational background, training, and experience as it relates to bloodstain pattern analysis?
Okay. Well, I'll begin with my college degree, which is a BA in biology and chemistry, which I received from Hobart College in upstate New York, and that was back in 1962. I had an internship at St. Mary's Hospital in Tucson for 1 year. Became a medical ethnologist.
I think it's might be a rating
clinical laboratory work, blood testing of various types. I've also completed 9 hours of graduate study in forensic science between 1977 and 1979, including my first course in bloodstain pattern analysis, crime scene investigation, and evaluation of trace evidence, which is evidence which is ordinarily looked at with a microscope. That's my formal education.
Have you had an occasion to actually engage in the study of bloodstain patterns and bloodstain pattern analysis?
Engage in the study of?
Yes. Or could you explain how they are studied?
I'm sorry,
How is it studied? How is this field studied? How is the sort of the basis of the science created?
Oh, the basis of it, yes. Bloodstain pattern analysis is a discipline in the forensic sciences, and it is related to biology, since we're dealing with blood, chemistry, dealing with certain types of blood testing, physics, which is the study of objects in motion when we see various types of spatters in motion, and then finally mathematics, because sometimes we're able to determine the area of origin where a pattern originated. That's the basis for that. And then we study the size, shape, and distribution of the stains as they appear at scenes where blood has been shed, whether it's on walls, ceilings, floors, or even on persons and persons' clothing. So,
are you a member of any professional organizations related to the field of bloodstain pattern analysis?
Yes, I am.
Would you please tell the jury what organization and for how long?
I'm a member of the, actually a charter member of the International Association of Bloodstain Pattern Analysts, which was established in 1983. And I've been a current active member for that entire time through the current year. Within that organization, I've been awarded a distinguished membership, as well as I've served as historian for several years, and also as editor of the Journal of Bloodstain Pattern Analysis, which is our agency's or our organization's news.
Have you had occasion to teach the subject?
Yes, I have.
Would you explain that experience?
Yes, I've had opportunity over the years to teach both basic and advanced 5-day bloodstain pattern analysis courses. These courses include a lecture theory work as well as various laboratory experiments that duplicate and simulate what actual blood patterns would look like at various types of bloody scenes. And I have taught basic and advanced courses, pretty much, I believe 37 classes I've taught throughout the United States and also in Australia, Canada, Aruba, and the Netherlands, I believe, in terms of being, overseas.
Are you published?
Yes, I've had material published.
What kind of material and is it still in use today?
I have been a co-editor of 3 bloodstain pattern analysis books. The first was co-authored with Dr. William Eckert, a pathologist, and that ran into a second edition, and it was called Introduction to Bloodstain Pattern Analysis. And then the third book was in one edition. That was published in, I believe, 2005. And I co-authored that with Paulette Sutton, who is a bloodstain analyst from Memphis, and also Paul Kish, K-I-S-H, who is a bloodstain pattern analyst from Corning, New York. And that's the extent of my books.
Have you testified in the form of opinion in this field of bloodstain pattern analysis prior to today?
Yes, I have.
Approximately or specifically how many times?
I can't tell you specifically, but I would estimate probably a couple of hundred times over the last, several decades.
Do you offer testimony in civil cases?
I do civil cases occasionally.
Is your primary work in criminal cases?
Yes, I would say probably 90% of my work is in criminal cases.
Could you give the jury a breakdown of how often you testify for the prosecution versus how often you testify for the defense in these criminal cases?
Yes, I testify approximately 25% for prosecution cases and the remaining 75% for defense cases.
So on behalf of defendants, 75% of the time?
That's correct.
Your Honor, at this time, the state intends to move into the opinion portion of Mr. Stewart Jones's testimony.
Objection.
Okay, I'm showing defense counsel what's marked as state's 8K for identification purposes. Permission to approach with state's 8K.
Yes.
Or actually to publish as a demonstrative exhibit.
Okay. Any objection from the state? I mean, from the defense?
From the defense, no objection.
Okay. Mr. James, can you explain generally what we're looking at and we'll talk specifically about its content?
Okay. What you're looking at here is a classification of various types of bloodstain patterns. And this was designed by myself and Paul Kish and was published in our book on bloodstain pattern analysis that was published in 2005. And it shows you 3 basic categories. Passive stains are those types of stains and patterns that require very little energy. Simple drops of blood falling, only affected by gravity, air resistance. And you have drip stains, drip patterns when there's several drops falling in the same place. A drip trail, when you have drips of blood falling and there's movement. That's when you call it a trail. And flow patterns are volumes of blood that move according to gravity, whether they're coming down a vertical surface or on a slanted horizontal surface. Saturation and pool are related to one another. They can essentially be the same volume, but saturation refers to a volume of blood that's on a surface where it has been absorbed into the surface, whereas pool of blood on a harder surface, it remains in the 2-dimensional configuration, doesn't absorb in, so that's why we make that distinction.
Let me ask you, you may have, maybe I missed it, but you may have skipped it. What is a transfer stain under this passive category?
Oh, right, I started with drip stains, I'm sorry. A transfer stain is a stain created when you have an object or portion of a person that has wet blood on that area, and they come in contact with a non-bloody surface. They transfer the blood from one surface to another. And there are 2 types basically of transfer stains. One are called wipes. Wipe stain is when you have blood pre-existing on a surface that is not quite dry, and you wipe through it, and you create what we call a wipe pattern. By contrast, we have a term we call swipe, S-W-I-P-E. And a swipe pattern is where you have blood on your hand or another surface, and you give lateral motion on a surface just creating a swipe. So we make that distinction. Sometimes we see both in the same area at one time, but we do make that distinction. Okay.
Let's talk about spatter, and you might notice a bottle of water in front of you now.
Well, thank you very much.
Feel free to
I
take
appreciate that. A little raspy throat here.
Spatter, please, if you could.
Spatter requires more energy than passive dripping, and as a result, the stains generally tend to be much smaller because they're broken up into smaller droplets. Now, impact spatter is one category, and just like what it sounds, it requires an impact of some sort onto exposed blood to create an array of small spatters that may radiate out from that surface. We have impact spatter can be produced by beatings, sometimes by stabbings, and also by gunshot. Okay, but the key to that is the blood generally has to be exposed when the impact is made. In other words, a single knife wound generally will not cause any spatter because it's not impacting any blood that's already been exposed. We have a secondary spatter, which you will hear me talking about satellite spatter. And that is a secondary spatter, which occurs when blood is dripping down onto a surface, forming a relatively small or large pool. And the drip after drip creates small spatters that radiate around it and land on the area of surface around. And finally, for spatter, projected spatter is a type of pattern that we see when an artery has been damaged because the blood is exited under pressure. And we can see.
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry?
I didn't mean to interrupt if you weren't done. Go ahead.
And that's what we call it projected. You can also get projected spatter from exhalation of blood coming out of the nose and lungs under not as much pressure, but the same sort of idea. And then finally,
talk about altered, please. Talk about altered, please.
Yes, I'm going to say finally, altered stains actually can be, altered stains can affect all the other types of stains. It's an alteration of stains that have been produced over on these two categories of passive and spatter. First one is clotted blood, because after blood has been exposed to an external environment, it begins to clot. And the time of clotting varies a lot, but generally you can see beginnings of clots within 3 to 15 minutes or something like that. And of course, with clots, you then will get what we call serum separation. The liquid portion of blood will appear because the clot, after extended periods of time, will come together and express, and the serum will be around that area. And it looks like a pale yellow type of a liquid. Diluted blood really speaks for itself. When you mix blood with some other liquids, such as water, you get a dilution. And we can generally see that as a result of that activity occurring. Dried blood, of course, is something that starts right after blood has been produced. The drying generally occurs from the outside in, whether it be a small stain or a large pool. And of course, the other one we're going to talk about a little bit are voids. Voids are just what it says. You have a pattern of blood and something produced, and there's a blank space in the area. We call that a void, where blood should have been. Okay? And you see various types of voids.
Talk to the jury a little about sequenced. Is that a reference to an ability to understand sort of the sequence of a bloodletting event based off its appearance?
Yeah, so sequencing is something that you try to do with tri-state reconstruction, which blood stain pattern analysis is a tool in order to help facilitate that. But sequencing also, another good example, sometimes I'm asked, well, here's a footwear impression on the floor, and there's spatter, which appears to be on top of it. Can you tell which occurred first? And that's called
So Aaron,
to be able to do that. Another form of sequencing is essentially a white pattern that we talked about. If you have on the floor.
Aaron, so you may have seen this one. This is just a filler. This was just a filler. The next one, oh boy, quadruple murder, Aaron. Quadruple murder. And it starts at 11 o'clock Central. And I've got the live court feed I've got. So it's not on Law and Crime or anything. I've just got a live feed. I got the permission yesterday to do it. So we started. It's quite feisty. Did she deny killing husband, or she say? I think she said self-defense. I don't think she said. I think she's admitted to killing him, but like didn't want to kill him. Tim is there. Josie, no, you're having a hard time figuring out this trial. Yeah, we didn't do much research. My fault. Yes. Erin tackles ball burst car, Paddington. Fucking hell, you know everything. You nosy bloody hell. Are you going to join us for it? It's a good trial, or it seems like a good trial. I hope you come back for it, Erin. Always good to have you here. You know that. And we've not watched this trial together for ages. Not properly, then. Hey, Sarah. Bosa. Yeah, Bosa is there. Yeah, actually, Taco and Small Bus and Paddington is all for Erin, and Bosa is for Josie and for Sarah P. None of them are for me. Erin. So I think we'll watch another half an hour of this, and then we'll scurry on over to watch the other one. What's the bus story? So the bus story is, I'll get to Erin. Bus story is Erin because she's tiny. Small bus because she's a little bit slow. Small bus Erin. So whenever you're a bit slow on the uptake, you go on a small bus. So normally she's permanently on the bus. Erin is. She's always like. There'll be days where Josie, you might be on the bus with her. We all get those days where we're a bit slow. So Erin's there on her own every day, and most days she gets joined by somebody. But she's permanently on that bus. Hey, Erin, babe, from Beautiful Inappropriate. Yes, I could come back for that one. They're all done it together. This is why I want to watch it because it's intriguing. All the three defendants are up together. And I've never, ever, ever seen that before. So that's why I'm excited for it. All three defendants all being dealt with at the same time. So yeah, and that's why I'm excited about it. Hey Josie, hey beautiful, thank you. Don't have to call me beautiful, just call me Dylan. It's all right. Boom, boom, boom. Poor Erin. The bus story is I'm very slow, so I have my permanent seat in the bus as a window licker. Yeah, like today when you delete all times. No, did you? I didn't see that. Oops, Josie. Can't wait to see the other trial. I was looking through the messages trying to figure out what he said. Jesus. Hey, Mike, this is the next trial. We're going over in about 45 minutes. The link is here, Mike, for the next trial. Mary, I can't wait to see you either. Can't wait to see you either. Michael trials next. It's the Kiraga family murders. So, as long as you're the only person I'm worried about is Kim because she's a bit behind. Everyone else should automatically get sent over to that trial. So, and I don't want to watch it because Eric Bland. I just can't be arsed, Erin. That that prick. Eric Bland. I just want to shake him. But anyway, let's not make any threats live on TV. He said nothing. My fingers on my phone hit something. I don't even know what. Right, let's watch another. Make sure to take me, Lolly. I will. I know. So Kim, if you're behind, he won't take you over. So we'll have to put a link in here for you. Hang on. And what I'll do now is I'll do this. You delete all my messages. Oh well, then I can get in trouble. Right, hang on. Where's Hang on, where is this gone? I need to. I'll get a link for it now if I can find one. I got one. So here's the link. Oh, Sarah's got it. Thank you, Sarah. Sarah got it way faster than me. So what I'll do is I will pin it. So if you don't get taken automatically, the link is at the top of this. So thank you, Sarah P. I have Walter's muted name and saying I will listen in when he's done. Creighton, Waters, and EB. I can't. He should never be speaking, let alone. Do you know what I mean? He's not even a victim. He makes his own. Let's go there. I'm gonna lose a valve. Thank you, Sarah. Yes. Right. Let's watch another half an hour of this then, and then we'll scurry on over.
And you wipe through it.
But thank you for popping in anyway, Erin, and I'm excited to see you on the other one, on the other side.
That by knowing that the stain occurred first, and then the wiping came afterwards.
So is it possible by using this discipline, this science of bloodstain pattern analysis, for you to help or for you to be able to reconstruct sort of the order of certain events within the scene based off the appearance of blood?
Yes, that is our ultimate objective, is to use bloodstain pattern analysis and also, general crime scene knowledge. I mean, what I mean by that is like various objects that may have been moved throughout a situation, but bloodstain pattern analysis is a part of the overall job to reconstruct whatever happened. We need the results from the pathologist, what type of injuries occurred, because that assists us in determining where someone may have been based on the type of stains that occurred. If there was an arterial cut and we see one at a scene, we have to verify that there was an arterial cut on the victim. So those are all the things we have to deal with. In addition, and probably most importantly, would be the testing of the blood, and especially for DNA analysis. And I've been working with this in this field well before DNA became, actually used in forensic science, and it's made a big difference in being able to distinguish between, example, when you have more than one bleeder. If you have 3 victims at a scene and there's a lot of movement around, DNA is about the best route to take to determine who went where.
Okay,
that's why that is important.
The ultimate goal when you are brought onto a case is not just to come in and describe stains, try to describe stains and then understand what can be inferred from the appearance of those stains.
Yes, well, a good way to point that out is that when we teach basic bloodstain pattern analysis courses, and we teach law enforcement most of the time, we've had pathologists and we've had some attorneys take the course as well. A basic bloodstain course will teach one to be able to document properly bloodstain patterns, meaning proper photography, proper collection, things of that sort. It does not make one an expert, which is really a court term. I mean, I refer to it more as experience. You gain experience by taking an advanced course and then doing a lot of casework in order to become qualified to testify about the subject.
All right. Were you asked in this particular case to review some of the evidence to see if you could offer any opinions in this field of bloodstain pattern analysis and crime scene reconstruction?
Yes, I was.
Can you tell the jury what it is you reviewed?
Okay. The date of approximately April 1st of 2019, I was contacted just before that, not by you, but actually by another attorney. Sadie String was on the case, and I received the following items to review: scene photographs, some scene videos.
Can you tell the jury how many scene photographs you looked at?
Oh, sorry, 916 images, and scene videos, about 20 clips of videos, photographs of Danielle Redlick at the scene, and there were 22 images of that. And then photographs of her at the hospital, there were 53 images taken of her. Then to go on April 3rd of 2019, I received a scene report and some diagrams taken by the Winter Park Police Department, investigative summary report from the same agency. I received FDLE Florida Department of Law Enforcement laboratory reports of blood analysis and DNA, and also reports of their fingerprint analysis. And then on 4/26 of 2019, I received an autopsy report of Michael Redlick, ME number 2019 000059.
Would you please explain to the jury why it's useful for you to review the investigative report?
The investigative report?
Yeah, why is that useful in the work that you do?
Well, it's not of ultimate use necessarily, but it does give a little basis for the background of what had actually happened.
For instance, did it tell you in this case that there was more than one person bleeding on scene?
Yes, I did find that out ultimately, yes.
Does it also allow you to sort of compare a certain theory of events versus what the physical evidence shows?
Well, that's again the ultimate goal of forensic science is to draw your conclusions from all the evidence at a scene, and then ultimately that will be compared to various versions of the event, given by witnesses, suspects, or whoever else had some knowledge of what they're saying happened.
I'm sure defense counsel what's marked as states AG for identification purposes. Permission to approach the witness, what states AG?
Yes.
James, prior to your testimony, did you create several PowerPoint presentations that will aid the jury in understanding the various conclusions that you were able to draw and observations you made concerning the bloodstains in this particular case?
I did.
And prior to your testimony here today, did you have a chance to review the contents of State's AG to confirm that it contains those PowerPoints and that those PowerPoints are in fact very accurate copies of your PowerPoints?
Yes, and I also put my initials on it to verify that I did see them.
All right. All right, this time, State would seek to move into evidence was marked as State's AG for identification purposes.
Any objection?
No objection.
AG will be admitted as the state's next numbered exhibit.
State Exhibit 46.
Excuse me.
Permission to publish, Your Honor?
Yes, sir.
No way. 6 times. Or was that exaggeration? So, as a crate, you've got to set them up now. I believe. I don't really know what I'm doing. High, average, or low. High is there's going to be loads of ads. Medium is apparently, well, I understood it as like, every, say, 45 minutes or something, to an hour. And the low was like maybe one a stream. So I've gone for the medium one, thinking like 1 an hour is fine. Do you know what I mean? YouTube is terrible. Makes me so mad when they do that in the middle of a live. Oh no. Jesus. This is not good, is it? The only way I can do it is to turn off ads completely. That's the only way. Not subscribe to YouTube, yeah. They want you to buy the premium stuff. Like, yeah, the only way I could do is by not switching monetization on. I have to switch it off completely. But that sucks for me then, like, But I don't view it as experience to me, to suck either. Okay, we're gonna have to keep an eye on this. Yeah, the only thing I can do, Tim, is switch it completely off and just not make any money off it. That's literally the only thing I think. I'm gonna have to look at it. Yeah, I know, but it still sucks though. Especially if you're a new viewer and you don't know about it. Then you might think it's me or something. I don't know. Maybe I need to play about the settings. I don't know. I just left it as average for everything. I don't really, because you can go higher. If you think this is bad, Yeah, I could go higher. Won't change anything. But what won't it stop the ads though? Because if I don't have ads, yeah, I know, but I still don't want it to be this bad. Do you know what I mean? Because the other reason is, Sarpi, is because people just go skip them. So I won't be making money off it anyway because people just go skip them. If it's that many, like if it's like 1 or 2 a stream, you're more likely to play them through. Whereas if it's like 6 every couple of hours, then you know people skip it. So I won't make anything anyway. So you only make money if people play through. If people skip it, you don't get a cent.
Publishing the PowerPoints that we just discussed. We're going to start with the first PowerPoint, exterior front. Looking at the exterior front of the home, did you see any evidence of any blood stains at the exterior front of the home?
No, I did not.
And you looked through all these photographs to see if there was any sort of opinion you could offer or any evidence that would be relevant to your consideration?
Relative to the exterior?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay. And this is just documenting some of the things that were out front,
correct.
including some eggs or
There was
eggshells.
some evidence of eggshells on the floor of the driveway,
And that,
which I just made note of. They were not part of my conclusions in this case at all.
so we'll look at the next PowerPoint titled Danielle Justine Redlick at Scene and Hospital. What do we see here at this slide?
Well, you can see Ms. Redlick there standing with, well, go back one. You can see there's apparent injury to both her wrists, and the hands are relatively clean, but the wounds do not appear to be bleeding.
Tell the jury the type of stain that we see present here in this photo 162.
Yes, I would classify that as a transfer stain, meaning that a bloody object or portion of a person with blood on it, wet blood, made contact with that area of the neck and created a transfer stain.
Next slide is a close-up of those injuries that you previously described.
Yes.
And now we're looking at photographs of Ms. Redlick in the hospital.
Mhm.
Is this a close-up of that transfer stain that you previously described?
Yeah, the close-up, the only difference between that and the previous photograph of showing the neck was that the blood on her neck is like kind of crusted and flaked a little bit. It's older than it was when we first saw it.
And we also see what appears to be some sort of transfer stain sort of towards the bottom of her neck as well.
Very, very light transfer.
Additional photographs of the state of the injuries at the hospital.
Yes, and you can see there's a small accumulation of blood, especially on the left hand toward the base of the palm.
Here, where my cursor's at.
Yes, that's correct.
What are we looking at, and what do you see in terms of the stains that you're observing?
Well, here on both the left and the right foot, you can see more extensive transfer stains. In fact, on the left foot, stains come partially up the leg slightly, but most of these on the toe areas.
And then the bottoms of the feet in the next slide.
Yes. Here we see more transfer stains on the soles of the feet. The shadow makes it a little more difficult to establish the extent of it, but there's definitely some reddish brown stains on the soles of the feet.
Okay, the next presentation entitled Foyer. All right, so what do we see here in the first slide of your Foyer presentation?
Well, we're seeing both on the left and right photograph, we're seeing some apparent bloodstains on the interior portion of the door. And looking at those, they would be classified as flow patterns, meaning the volume of blood that was applied to that area was of sufficient volume to allow gravity to pull it down toward the floor.
We see a better depiction of that in the next slide, photo 3282 cropped.
Yes. And you can see even by gravity, the particular stain above the doorknob has followed the contour of the actual lock and just then continued down. It's being governed by gravity, basically.
Based off of your overall review of the scene, your knowledge of the injury sustained in the entire context of your review, did you believe that these stains were more likely associated with Danielle Redlick's bloodletting event than Michael Redlick's bloodletting event?
Well, yes, to the extent that she was just outside the door when she was photographed. So at least someone, made contact with the interior knob to get outside, presumably. But the blood was not tested, so I can't be certain of that.
All right, photograph 3261 on the other side of that door, and we're seeing some patterns I'd like you to begin to describe for the jury.
Yes, well, right by the edge of the door, in that area there, you have three fairly well-formed passive drip stains. They're more circular in nature because the surface of the floor is fairly smooth, so you don't get too much distortion. It'll be essentially round. And around this area, you see what very smaller stains, which could be classified as satellite spatter. The result of the blood drop hitting the floor and then a few small spatters emanating from that as a result of the impact of the floor.
Okay, next slide, photograph 3074. What patterns are you seeing, and what are you able to infer from the appearance of these patterns?
Well, what we're seeing here is almost the entire floor is covered with a large area of reddish brown stains, which even from looking at this perspective, some appear to be diluted. It is not in pristine form.
And diluted in this context means that some liquid has been mixed with the blood that was present on the floor.
Yes, because the whole area of the floor, these stains are much lighter in color than they would be if the blood was whole blood. So it's been altered to the extent where it's been diluted.
And we're looking at some additional photographs of the floor from this formal living room vantage point.
Yes.
Okay. So now photograph 3077. This is the main area around Mr. Redlick.
That is correct.
And we're going to see kind of through the remainder of the presentation some close-ups on some areas of interest in and around Mr. Redlick.
Yes.
Okay. What does the jury see here, or what can you see here, and what can you tell the jury about the patterns that are present sort of towards this bathroom and then off heading towards the master bedroom?
Well, essentially what I'm seeing in this photograph is on the left side, below the area where the brown chair is. What I'm seeing there is a large area of wiping of blood. And you can almost see some circular motion applied right at the base of the side of the chair. So that's near where blood was wiped up to a certain extent. Not entirely, but to a certain extent.
Would an object such as a towel produce a pattern like we see in the floor in this area?
How would what?
A towel. Would a towel be an object that could produce that?
Yes, any object capable of absorbing some blood and being wiped. Yes.
All right. Photograph 3018, sort of looking back the other way, what do we see as far as the patterns of blood?
Well, we're seeing another large area of what I would consider diluted blood, very light pink in color, extending down to the south, down the hallway. And then in the foreground, there's what appears to be several areas of drip stains that we saw by the front door, meaning that blood had dripped from some height above onto that area.
The next presentation we're going to look at is titled South Side of Residence. Right. Explain to the jury what you've highlighted here and what this pattern appears to you to be.
That area has a linear configuration to it, if you will. And I don't believe I mentioned it in the first presentation, but that I would refer to as a cast-off pattern. And what I mean by that is if you have blood on an object or your hand and it's swung, you're going to cast the blood off. It's going to go onto a nearby surface or as far as it can go until it reaches the surface. And look in a linear type appearance. It can be on a wall, it can be on a ceiling, depending upon the orientation of the swing. So I would classify that as a cast-off pattern.
All right, next slide, photograph 3416 and 3418. Why was this significant and why did you include it in the slide?
Well, here we have a variety of objects to talk about. Number one is a pile of clothing, of which I believe also contains the shirt of Mr. Redlick, and that's designated by evidence marker number 1. Number 2, I believe, shows a mop which is actually leaning up against the banister of the stairwell, and the mop has a reddish brown appearance to the bottom portion of the mop. And number 3 is a bucket which appears to contain a large amount of reddish brown water.
A mop and a bucket, are these the types of instruments that could produce the scene that we see surrounding Mr. Redlick's body in those prior photos?
Yes. It would be producing dilution as well as wiping.
Next slide, photograph 3474. Help the jury understand why you included the slide and how it factors into what you can say about the scene and the appearance of the blood.
Well, it just shows you that that location is where Mr. Redlick's shirt was placed, because you can see the damage to the shirt corresponds to where the location of the stab wound in his upper left chest area.
And we're seeing a close-up of that bloody mop or the reddish stained mop that you just discussed?
That's correct.
Okay. Photograph 3420. What do you see here?
Well, there you see some transfer stains that have been diluted. And another consideration of dilution is that blood dries from the outside in, and you can see the rim of drying has begun. And that's why the periphery of that stained area is darker than the center.
Mr. James, there is a laser pointer right there in front of you.
Oh, okay.
And so if it would aid you at all to turn around and use that to kind of point to some of these stains.
I'll try to do that, but my neck may give me a little trouble doing that. Okay. I'll try.
Do your best. Whenever you think it would be useful for the jury to understand.
Mr. James, are you able to stand up and do it? Would that be more comfortable for you?
Just turn like this?
If that's more comfortable, yes, sir.
That would be easier.
Okay.
Here, I can try to.
How do you turn that thing on? Okay, good.
All right, you were talking about how it dries from the outside in, and we see an example of that here.
Yes, you see these diluted areas here, very light pink in coloration. And what I was talking about is that the periphery of these stained areas has got a darker appearance to it. It means that it's begun to dry. And that is true of the same areas on the other side of the photo.
You may have already mentioned this, but do you also see a pattern that is consistent with being a footprint?
Yes, right here it's kind of vague, but that does appear to have characteristics of the sole of a foot.
What about to the left also, right to the left of that?
I'm sorry?
To the left of that, right there in the center.
Oh, right here? Yes. Would appear to be, I'm not a footwear analyst, but I can certainly say consistent with a portion of a bare foot.
Okay. Okay, we will now look at the presentation entitled Living Room and Location of the Body of Michael Redlick. So looking at photograph 3077, sort of setting the scene and moving to some additional photographs, 3246. Would you please explain to the jury some of the patterns that you see here in the area surrounding Mr. Redlick.
Okay. Well, we're seeing some altered stains around the body here on the left side, continuing down the leg, and also going beyond his feet there. We see drip stains, which we talked about before. We're seeing a large saturation pattern on the front of the blue jeans of Mr. Redlick. They're saturated with blood, especially around the waist area and coming down the leg. We see that the chest area at this point in time is relatively blood-free. You've got blood, a little bit of blood here and a little bit more up here. And then around the left side of the head, we see a pooling of blood, an accumulation of blood of large volume. And remember I talked about the serum separation when blood begins to clot. Here we're seeing the formation of some of the lighter areas right there, especially where serum has been expressed. That's a function of length of time that blood has been in that area, but it's very difficult to duplicate the, if you will, the conditions that were present at the time it happened. So we don't try to give a very precise estimates as to how long that blood was there.
Mr. James, I believe I heard you while we were looking at the previous slide say that there were these alteration patterns in the immediate vicinity of Michael Redlick's body. Can you, with this photo, sort of use the laser pointer, point to where we see alterations, and talk about why they're characteristic of alteration?
Yes, we're seeing a lot of movement throughout here, which could be the result of more additional wiping, and especially down in here. And you see a saturated, I believe that's a shirt saturated with blood, which is not the shirt that he was wearing, but it's another shirt that was, I believe, used to do some wiping in that area because it appears to be saturated as well.
Okay. So do we see some other saturated objects in and around Mr. Redlick's body?
Yes, and I believe that these are all objects that have been utilized to wipe up blood.
Clean up the scene.
Sorry?
Clean up the scene.
At the scene, to clean it up, yeah. An attempted cleanup.
Here's a better picture. We can see here that that's actually that's a towel that we've been referring to in marker 10.
Yeah, you can see the saturation here. Yeah.
Okay, item 11, or photograph 3316. What do we see?
Well, here we see again a variety of stains. We see areas of interrupted pooling, which could be the result of some wiping. You can see some clots of blood. Here are the really darker areas, especially up here. So the blood has been there for a period of time. Here we see another fully saturated cloth material, another shirt. We see the base of this lamp here, and the lamp has been moved on top of an area of blood.
Okay, and we're going to see some additional slides focusing on that lamp in just a moment, aren't we?
And then right here, we see an area that doesn't look anything like the rest of the reddish brown stains. Right here, it's very brown. Certainly, it's a portion of blood. What happened to it? My best explanation is that it was subjected to a liquid that caused the blood to oxidize, some kind of a possible cleanup reagent or something. But it's another alteration. I have no other explanation. The blood has turned brown in that one area because something was applied to it.
Did you say cleanup reagent?
Yeah, some reagent, whether it be a soap or something, has caused it to turn brown.
Okay, so soap or cleaning fluid is the fancy science way to say is cleanup reagent.
Yes, I would say that's the easiest way to put it.
Okay. Next photo, 3317. Do you see some stains on that towel that you can describe?
Well, I see it. I don't see a lot of saturation, but I just see, some transfer stains right near the evidence marker number 12.
What about around the towel?
And around, we see more of the drip stains. We were talking about the circular drip stains, some satellite spatter, and you can see some of the stains have been altered. I'll go back here, like right in here. You can see the outside perimeter is darker and the center is clear.
And some items that were set on that towel.
Okay, well here also, you can go back, here you go. You can see here some very obvious areas of some serum separation. And here, for some reason, you've got this towel which contains a bloodstained cell phone, let's see, eyeglasses, keys, which have been placed there after the blood was on them.
Okay. All right. So now moving back to the area around Mr. Redlick's left arm and that lamp, tell the jury the patterns you could observe from this particular photo.
Okay. Here we're seeing, again, more of the same. We see more drip stains that have been altered. You get a very good image here of the serum separation. Here's a major, large blood clot, and the serum has emerged because the clot is retracted, and this is all that light yellowish material or liquid, which still contains some blood, but it's certainly serum separation. And you can also see an area where I believe his arm was up here possibly for a short period of time before it came to its final position.
What can you say about the location of the lamp and the stains that are under the lamp?
Yeah, the lamp.
And on the lamp.
You can see a large white area at the base of the lamp, and in my opinion, the lamp was moved where the base is on top of a portion of the wiped area. And also you see some stains on top of the base of the lamp as well, which have apparently dried and maybe formed a few clots. But mainly it's been moved to be over a previously wiped area.
Is this an example of the sort of reconstruction or sequencing that you can offer through the appearance of the evidence and the bloodstains on the scene?
Yes, to determine which came first. We know that the wiping occurred first, and then the lamp came after, was moved afterwards.
So we had blood, wipe, lamp.
Correct. And again, we're seeing another image of this altered blood stain, which again, my only explanation is with some chemical or something like that was applied to it.
All right, what are we looking at here?
Here we're looking at another area of the living space. And number 12 is another towel or shirt laying on the floor.
And then do we do a close-up of that table in this next slide, photograph 3544?
Yes, here we see some deposition of bloodstains on top of the table. The ones on the right are more linear, well, more linear than this, but that would have some features of possibly fingers coming in contact and just moving a little bit. There were also a bit of that on this side as well.
Let's talk about the cup that is also placed.
Yes, the cup, the glass shows some blood transfer. So it was touched with a bloody hand, most likely.
Looking at another angle of Mr. Redlick, what are some of the stains that you can begin to identify on this portion of his body?
Well, we see some transfer stains on his on the right side of his abdomen and mid-chest area, which would be right in this area here. You see some transfer stains on his arm, and his arm is resting on a previously wiped area. So there's been movement of his arm that occurred after the wiping occurred, because the wiping does not go across his arm, it's below it.
So someone had to have wiped that area and then manipulated the body.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, moved. Yes. Manipulated, moved. Yeah.
3245 and 3310. What are you focusing in on in this particular slide?
Well, here we see some transfer stains on the wall in the lower wall in the baseboard. And you see a bloodstained towel next to it and his arm. There's also some small spatters, which are down at the baseboard. Again, this area has been altered. I can't say specifically what caused those transfer stains, but a possible candidate would be his right arm, but it would have.
Literally, I know. I think what they're trying to get at here is that she tampered with evidence. So, not in the sense of the murder itself, because there's two counts, one of murder, second degree murder, and one of tampering with evidence. So I think this is what they're trying to prove, that she tampered with a scene, so that she, they want to be found guilty for both murder and tampering with evidence. But it's just long-winded, it's just too much.
Have to have been, the body would have to have been a little closer to the wall for that to occur.
Hello, Chris.
The body is no longer in a position directly next to where it would have had to have been to make that stain.
I mean, assuming that the proximity of the arm to that stained wall, if if the arm had created that, it would have to have been closer.
Focusing in on that area of transfer stain and some spatter around it. Let's talk a little bit about the spatter.
Well, the spatter, I believe, looking at the directionality going from left to right, probably is a result of the contact of that bloody area with the wall with a little bit of force to create some of that spatter to occur. It's like having a bloody hand and just going down like that on the table. If there's blood on the hand, you're going to get a little radiating spatter coming from that activity.
Can you brought up this word directionality. Can you explain to the jury what you mean by directionality and how you see it in this photo and how that allows you to offer the conclusion you just offered?
Yes. If you look at the stains over here, first of all, they're oval shaped, and some exhibit a tail, if you will, like right here, and a little bit over here. That indicates, the tail indicates certainly the direction of travel, and which means that the stains are moving away from the central area to the right.
Okay. Photograph 3263. What do we see here?
Well, that shows you some of the areas of blood stains on the upper chest and arm area, as well as just for reference, the location of the injury to his upper left shoulder area.
And the next photo, sort of a clearer photo of this absence of blood on his chest?
Yes, as well as the, excuse me, the saturation of the upper portion of his blue jeans.
And then talk to the jury about what this photo shows you in terms of some of the terms we've been referring to, or maybe haven't yet referred to.
I'm sorry?
What does this photo show you as far as a particular pattern?
Well, it shows you more of the saturation of the rear of the jeans, as well as some lighter areas of white blood below.
Do we see an example of a void pattern here?
Yes, there's a void pattern right here, which is, it's a blank area within another bloodstain pattern. I'm not sure what caused that, but it could have been something that occurred prior to the position of that body, maybe during a wipe-up period or something like that.
Okay. Photograph 3259 and 3260, what did you observe?
Now, these two photographs show both of the socks of Mr. Redlick, which appear to be saturated with blood, which it would indicate as not a sequencing, but a prior activity that he was upright and making contact with his feet with blood.
Next slide.
That shows a pair of shoes which don't appear to have any blood on the soles. They're just sitting there.
And then some what looks like blood on the carpet.
Yeah, some reddish brown stains.
And a close-up of that pattern. And you're not a footwear expert or anything like that?
That appears to be a portion of a foot, yes. Okay. It's got the right configuration.
All right, now let's talk about photograph 3556 and then a close-up of that area in the next slide, 3557. Tell the jury sort of what this is sort of a classic example of.
Okay. That's a nice term to use, a classic example of a diluted wet pattern. You can see the dilution as well as the activity of wiping. And again, it's a part of the cleanup of the area, attempted cleanup.
Moving into the hallway and master bedroom presentation. What do we see here in the first slide of your presentation?
Okay, on the left, we see an area behind the brown chair on the floor, which shows you an extensive area of wiping.
Okay, that's enough for today. So, for those that are joining me for the next trial, the Clariga family quadruple homicide trial, that hopefully all you have to do is just nothing. Hopefully pop over there straight away. If not, then the link is pinned at the top by Sarah P. So use that link. But if you don't need the link, then hopefully when I close this down in a second, you get straight over there. So I'm supposed to start it now. So with that, Thank you very much for everyone being here. Hopefully, I'll see you all in the next trial in literally 10 seconds. And with that, for Zachariah Anderson, thank you guys. End stream. See you in a bit.